Joe Rogan Podcast. Check it out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan Podcast by night, all day.
Hey, oh.
Little Bo Peep. She needed the money.
Oh.
Oh. Remember how great that was, man?
Oh, yeah. When I first met him, it was like one of those weird things where, you know, I mean, you've met a lot of famous people. Some of them, you meet them, you're like, fucking really?
Bummer.
It's weird. Oh, there's
Yeah,
bummer,
right,
too.
sorry,
Yeah, the bummer ones, that sucks. When you meet
sucks.
someone, they suck. You're like, oh, no, you suck.
I know, exactly.
Some people just not talk. They should only do what they do, act and sing.
But then you get to know them. Like, I don't know, like, I'm pretty good at this now where you see people that you, like, looked up to. Like, Eddie Vedder, I had a pretty close relationship with.
Oh, really?
Eddie Vedder. Yeah, but I was drinking, and then I would grab his balls, and I would do shit like that. And then it was like, I don't want him around. I don't want Josh around.
Yeah.
I don't like that anymore. I don't want my, and I think Sean Penn appreciated shit like that. Like, wow, somebody has the balls. It's not even a little chaos. It's like somebody has the balls to, like, call me on my shit. Like, not everybody's afraid of me.
Oh, right. Yeah, he's probably used to people constantly being afraid of him.
Yeah, like, oh, I can't fuck with him.
Right. Well, he does wild shit. Like, when he went down to fucking Mexico and met with El Chapo, like, Jesus Christ, dude. That's a fucking wild,
and I do
reckless
think
thing
that
to
that's
do.
organic, but I think that that's also, you just have that thing where you just go, you know what, shit's getting boring.
Right.
Like, the weather's just too fucking nice here.
Weather's too nice. I'm too famous. Let's go meet a
Something.
mobster.
Yeah. Let's go fuck some shit up. Let's do something. Let's do something big.
Let's do something
really
really
that's
reckless.
Gonna resonate for at least a year.
Yeah. That whole El Chapo thing was so crazy, though, because that kind of is one of the things that got him caught.
It was, right?
Yeah, yeah, because they track your cell phone data.
Yeah.
And they know where you go. And if you're bringing your fucking cell phone, you're basically bringing a tracking device to go find one of the most notorious gangsters alive today.
The most, I mean, who was the guy with the football team back in the day? Like
Pablo Escobar?
Think
Yeah.
about it. It's our days. This time's Pablo Escobar.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Sean Penn,
Goes and hangs out
who
with
was
him.
Spicoli, goes, you know what, man?
Spicoli.
Hey, who wants to come with me and find this motherfucker?
Did he go solo?
I think so.
I think he went solo. Well, he knew that lady who was like a reporter. You know, there was like this really hot Mexican
the
reporter.
Mexican girl. Yeah.
Yeah, he knew her.
Was
And
he dating her?
I don't know. But I think she had a thing with El Chapo.
After that?
No, like
Did Sean
previous.
introduce them properly?
I don't know. I think he knew her and she knew him. She
Yeah.
knew El Chapo.
Oh, right.
And
That's
so
how
it
he
was one of
got.
those-
That was the
yeah.
connect.
And El Chapo was like, I'd like to meet Spicoli.
Yeah. I love you.
Yeah, I really enjoyed you in Colors. And then the next thing you know.
What's the most dangerous thing that you do now? What do you think?
Dangerous
Yeah,
thing?
like we're talking about Sean going out on a limb. Do you find it necessary to go out and do things that, like, challenge you in a way?
Yes.
Challenge your psyche?
Yes.
In what way?
Elk hunting's probably the most exciting.
What is?
Elk hunting.
Elk hunting.
Elk hunting.
Why? Because it puts you in danger?
Well, no, it's just really difficult. You know, you're bow hunting in the mountains.
Right.
And it's just you in the mountains and just fucking mountain
Do you
lions
stay
and
up there
bears
for
and
days
shit.
and days and days? And do
Yeah.
you quarter your
Oh yeah,
kill?
we pack it out. Yeah.
See, that's a different thing.
Yeah.
You know, people say I don't like hunt. Personally, I grew up in a very red part of California. Everybody hunts that I grew up with. And I would shoot and I would hunt with my dad and I would, like, fucking think about it and dream about it for 3 weeks.
Oh yeah, I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. I love eating.
No.
I
I'm
love
saying that
hunting.
I would, like, I
Oh,
would
in a bad
spiral.
way? Oh, you get negative with it.
Not even, it was negative. Yeah, I guess it would be negative, but it would, like, made me think of, like, the kids that were going, like, Mom, are you there? And I just killed the
because you
mother.
killed the
It's like
mother?
the Bambi kind of thing.
Right.
But I eat meat. So that hypocritical thing of, like, I don't want to kill anything, but I want you to kill it for me so I can eat it because I really like the way it tastes.
Well, that's the anthropomorphization of animals that
nice.
Disney has kind of done. a number on people with, like Bambi and
Right.
Yogi Bear and all that kind of shit, cartoons and teddy bears. And we have a very, living in, when you live in urban areas and cities and people, streets and concrete, and people just get a very distorted idea of nature and our relationship with nature. And when you're a kid and you're just, these are sweet, cute things, and then all of a sudden you're supposed to go murder one.
Yeah.
Like, it's all fucked up.
It's right.
But what's fucked up is the cartoons. I mean, they're cute and everything.
Because they depict it in a way how?
Well, it's just completely distorted. You have these animals that are talking to each other, and the hunters are always assholes. And like if it wasn't for hunters, there would be no humans. We'd have never made it this far. Yeah. If we were all just eating fucking tubers and grapes and shit, we would have never made it.
Do you like garbanzo beans?
They're not bad. I don't prefer
Have you ever
them.
hunted one?
No.
It's fucking wild.
How do
man.
you do that?
you take a bunch of
Gotta
acid.
go to an Italian
You take
restaurant.
a bunch of acid. It's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about the sexual connotations of Disney? Like, did you ever hear that thing that Walt Disney had like the biggest porn collection of all time?
Really?
That's what I heard. I don't know how much of it is true.
Have you ever seen how?
There's like the Rod Stewart thing, and there's the.
Oh,
you know
right,
what I mean?
The
I don't
Richard
know
Gere
if it's
thing. Right.
I don't know how much.
Google
of
it, Jamie. Did Walt Disney have a gigantic porn collection? I wouldn't be surprised. A lot of people that are like really into kids stuff and like sweet, wholesome stuff, they
have that other
need
kind
to
of
flip.
slant.
Yeah, they need
Or
something to
eventually flip.
Maybe it's a cover, or maybe it's like they're so cutesy with the fucking completely wholesome stuff that they have to balance it out with some bondage shit.
Some fucked up
Some
shit.
guys getting kicked in the nuts and ball
Why
gags.
is it that people feel that people in Hollywood, and Texans are like that? Like, I know people that have moved to Texas, and they've called me. There was one guy that I used to work out with in Venice, and he moved here, and he called me, and he'd be like, "Hey man, the list is coming out," and I'd go, "What list?" And he goes, "The list."
The list.
And I go, "Am I on the list?"
Oh no.
And he goes, "No, you're clean, you're good." But I know you know who's on the list. Phew. I'm glad I know I didn't do anything wrong, even though I didn't do anything wrong. And I said, but why are you, for a twofold thing, why are you under the impression that everybody in Hollywood lives under the same roof? Like we all live in the same apartment complex.
It's they.
It's they.
Yeah, they.
It's they.
They are out there.
They're out there doing that thing.
Yeah.
And then how could you possibly think that a guy who's a trainer at Gold's in Venice would have the list? Why was he chosen?
Well, he goes on Reddit. And that's how you get the list.
That's how you get
That's how you get the list.
I still am waiting for the list.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to see him when I'm here. We started communicating again.
Well, when you
now.
have things like the Epstein client list that doesn't get released, then it fuels these kind of conspiracy theories about there being a list.
So why is that list not released?
That's a very good question.
Who
Powerful
has that
people.
list?
Well, for sure, someone has the list.
Okay.
Ghislaine Maxwell's in jail, right? So she must have talked. Like, there must have been conversations.
Right.
And there must be a bunch of very powerful people that are on that list. And, they're
Are all the
protecting
powerful people in cahoots? Was something that I
No, they
learned, like
compete
when I
with each
played
other.
when I played W, I played a senator.
What
I
was
played
that like?
W.
What is it like playing a guy who's still alive? Did you meet with him and hang
Scary.
out with him at all?
Scary. I mean, no, I wanted to.
Did you ever meet him?
No.
God, that's weird, right?
I
Playing a
had the
guy-
opportunity to meet him afterwards, and there was something about him that was more. Remember when he was like giving candy to Michelle Obama and all that, and
Yeah.
it was like a really friendly kind of a mischievous
Right.
thing, and I was like, I would like to meet him, and then I saw his paintings of his dogs, and I said, I don't want to meet him. I just don't. Like, it was something attractive for a moment.
What's it
and then
about
I
the
was
paintings
like,
that got you?
I don't know, and I love paintings. I don't know what it was, but
You didn't like the paintings?
no, it's not that I didn't like the paintings.
There's something in the paintings.
There was. I don't know what it was.
You know what?
Man.
Something in the paintings is I killed 1 million people with fake weapons of mass destruction. We had a fake story, and I used that story to justify an invasion of a country, and now 1 million people are dead.
So that's the question.
And I'm haunted every night. So I
Totally.
just paint dogs.
that are staring like that.
This episode is brought to you by ZipRecruiter. It takes a lot of hard work to put this show together, which is why I'm grateful for the small circle of people that work behind the scenes. A team effort is what makes this show successful, just like it takes a solid team to make any business successful. If you're hiring, and you want to know how do you find the best person for your team? I think the answer is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/Rogan. ZipRecruiter is the hiring site that employers prefer the most based on G2. You'll immediately get your job posting in front of qualified candidates, and then you can invite top candidates to apply. See why so many business owners and hiring managers are thankful for ZipRecruiter. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Go to this exclusive web address right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. ZipRecruiter.com/Rogan. Again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/ROGAN. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. This episode is brought to you by The Farmer's Dog. Dogs are amazing. They're loyal. They're lovable. Like, just having Marshall around can make my day 10 times better. And I'm sure you love your dog just as much, and you want to do your best to help them live longer, healthier, happier lives. And a healthy life for your dog starts with healthy food, just like it does for us. There's a reason having a balanced diet is so important. So how do you know if your dog's food is as healthy and as safe as it can be? Well, Farmer's Dog gives you that peace of mind by making fresh, real food developed by board-certified nutritionists to provide all the nutrients your dog needs. And their food is human grade, which means it's made to the same quality and safety standards as human food. Very few pet foods are made to this strict standard. And let's be clear, human-grade food doesn't mean the food is fancy. It just means it's safe and healthy. It's simple, real food from people who care about what goes into your dog's body. The Farmer's Dog makes it easy to help your dog live a long, healthy life by sending you fresh food that's pre-portioned just for your dog's needs. Because every dog is different. And I'm not just talking about breeds. From their size to their personality to their health, every dog is unique. Plus, precise portions can help keep your dog at an ideal weight, which is one of the proven predictors of a long life. Look, no one, dog or human, should be eating highly processed foods for every meal. It doesn't matter how old your dog is. It's always a great time to start investing in their health and happiness. So, try the Farmer's Dog today. You can get 50% off your first box of fresh, healthy food at thefarmersdog.com/Rogan. Plus, you get free shipping. Just go to thefarmersdog.com/Rogan. Tap the banner or visit this episode's page to learn more. Offer applicable for new customers only.
Like your face right now is exactly how every eye is in his dog's paintings. It's so funny.
That guy must be medicated. They must put him on some things so he can sleep.
Is that look?
And
does he put into his dog's eyes the look that he has always, or at least that he feels that he has?
Like there's a haunted...
It's his lens.
His real look
it's his
behind
lens.
his eyes. Yeah.
How he sees the world, how he's experiencing
what is it like
world.
running around knowing that you did that? Not just that you did that, but that there's no culpability. Like no one went to jail for that. No one even got brought up on charges.
Well, that's what I was bringing up, because when I would meet these people, I went to the Senate floor and I met a lot of these people, and then I met a lot of rich people, which is when I met Trump, actually, the 21 Club. Back when I knew a lot about him, I was fascinated by the whole...
What's the 21 Club?
21 Club is a place that he used to go a lot, and it was like, you have a chance to meet this billionaire, and
one
then
of
Trump,
places.
trying to get
Eyes wide shut type shit.
Yeah. So he, what was I going to say? Meeting these people, especially getting them drunk, where people get super honest.
Right.
Where they go, you know what, man? I trust you. I trust you. And you're like, here it comes. Here it comes. Whereas before that, they were like, I'm not sure. And I just, what I think is, and then they finally go, I just fucked her. I fucked her. I couldn't, and you're like, oh, or they tell you what's going on. But the thing that I learned, and I'm really curious about, like what we were talking about Hollywood and the perception of them all being in it together, is don't you think the rivalries and all that, not entirely, but that all politicians are basically under the same roof. They all know what each other's doing, and that there's more of an agenda of power to keep the public thinking a certain way.
Well, there's
brainwash.
There's certainly a benefit to that.
Of course there is.
Yeah, there's a benefit to that, and then there's also the underlying factor is money, of course. Like there's so much money and influence. There's so many special interest groups. There's so many lobbyists. There's
That's what I mean. It's
so
all
many massive
mostly
corporations
based on
that are
money.
donating to campaigns. Yeah. So there's always going to be this desire to sort of color things in a
Satiate,
certain light.
pacify.
Yeah, for sure. And then treat you like you're a baby so they can continue
That's
making
exactly right.
insane amounts of money.
That's
like if you're
exactly
someone
right.
like Nancy Pelosi and you're worth hundreds of millions of dollars and you make $170,000 a year and there's no fucking explanation.
Yeah.
Like just that alone. Like you
Just that
have to
alone.
kind of keep people in the dark. You have to kind of like keep dancing and
Yeah.
otherwise you're going to jail. Like
Yeah.
so someone's going to start investigating and they got to go, hey, what you did is not legal
Yeah.
and you're going to be in real trouble.
What's your relationship like with money?
In what way?
Just in what you made a certain amount of money for a long time.
I don't think about it.
You don't
I
think about it.
No. What I like about money is to not think about it. That's what I like.
Do you like spending it?
I like buying stuff.
Me too.
I have a nice car. Drove here. I drove a '69 Camaro.
See, but that's
like that.
different.
Yeah, I like that.
That's fucking different.
Yeah.
That's character.
I like fun stuff, but
Fun stuff.
for the most part, I'm not interested in it like as a goal. You know, what I like about money is not having to think about it. My friend Brian Callen said this to me once. He goes, real freedom is when you can go to a restaurant and not worry about what anything costs. He's like, everything else is bullshit.
It is.
And it really is.
It
Everything
really
else
is.
is bullshit. When you can just go to a restaurant, get a nice steak, order a bottle of wine, have a good time, and not think about the bill.
What I think happens is and be grateful for it. Mm-hmm. And to remind yourself to be that exists to be grateful for and not be taken advantage of. And I think that's one of the hardest things about money / power is you start treating things as if they're underneath you.
Ooh.
Yeah. Where you go, God, I'm so glad I can go anywhere in the world right now and get a meal. And I don't have to think about how am I going to pay for this?
Yeah.
Am I going to be in debt on my credit card? But when you start saying, excuse me,
Oh, yeah.
I said 204 degrees, not 190.
Right.
Read my lip, and you're like,
that's
"Whoa,
just
man,
gross.
It is gross, but it happens.
That's just taking advantage of this relationship that everyone knows, where service people have to be nicer than they really would be normally, like a regular person. So people
hoping for a tip, hoping for one of your many hundreds
it's
of
gross.
thousands or hundreds of millions of
It's
dollars.
disgusting. It's a gross way to treat people. But some people want to get rich so they could do that to people. Maybe someone did it to them when they were younger, and they're like, I can't wait to do this to other people.
I mean, when you said nice car, and you were like, I thought you were going to say, I was like, oh, please no, like Lamborghini.
No, I don't have any of those.
And then.
No, I like muscle cars. I like old muscle cars.
I know,
That's my
but
favorite.
that's like me at 37 knucklehead. And people say, oh, is that an affectation? I know you're friends with Momoa or whatever. I go, no, man, I've been riding motorcycles since I was 3.5 years old.
They're fun.
They're not only fun. There's something on us. If you read Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, which is the only book that's ever been written that kind of gets close to the kind of spiritual place, if you're a true motorcyclist, whether you're riding with your son or whether you're riding with a grid of guys or whatever, that beautiful, thunderous hum when you're in a group of guys who really know what they're doing and you're in absolute fucking sync.
Yeah.
And yes, your arms are up here and your arms are pretty numb at that point, but you're fucking soaring. You're an eagle on a fucking jet stream.
You ever heard Hunter S. Thompson in that documentary they did, Gonzo?
Yeah.
In the documentary, the very beginning, he talks about riding a motorcycle on the Pacific Coast Highway.
I don't remember that.
Oh, it's fucking great. See if you can find that. He talks about riding a motorcycle, about like that the lines begin to blur.
Yeah.
And you're just
That's
on
it.
the edge, and how alive you are. It's a fucking.
We don't have to
fantastic
get into this book right away,
speech.
but they came to me. It's the only story that I wrote that somebody asked me to write for the book. And they were like, well, you're really into motorcycles. Why don't you write a story about motorcycles? And I tried, and it was just bad, and everything I wrote was like so forced and bullshit. And finally I said, I can't do it. I'm not going to write it. And the minute I said I'm not going to do this, I started writing. It just kind of started to come out, and it's good.
Do you write by hand?
I do.
Yeah?
Mostly.
Do you feel more of a connection when you write by hand?
No, that's not why I do it. Because I'll write any which way, whether it's on the phone, whether, I remember people saying, like, I write, by hand, I handwrite because it's it's the way it used to be. And I was like, yeah, it also used to be under candlelight, which fucked your eyes out. You know what
Also,
I mean?
used to be people had slaves.
Yeah.
And also you can only get around by
paint
horse.
on caves and shit. Why don't you go paint on a cave? Tell me a story. Try to get it published.
Yeah, get a witch doctor to take
I
care of
don't
your
care
broken leg.
how it comes out. I think real writing is anywhere, anytime, however you can get it out. I don't think there's a muse that's needed. I think it's work, man.
It is work.
It's
I
labor.
think the muse is like it's a concept, right? Have you ever read Pressfield's The War of Art?
Yeah, of course.
Great book.
Great book.
I think he's right though when he says you summon the muse when you sit down to work. But that's also just like an intention thing. Like you have so much time and effort put on a thing, and when you do that, your mind gets more in sync with creativity.
Yeah.
But if you treat it like it's a muse, it actually does work. Like if you show up every day and like say,
Click
you know,
into that thing.
and pay respect to the muse. I'm sitting here and I'm ready to write, and I'm a professional and I'm ready to go. And treat it like you're summoning the muse.
Yeah, yeah.
It actually works.
Yeah.
There actually is an effect that happens. I don't know if there's an actual muse, but you can understand why someone would think that there's a muse because
But why do people chant? Why do people meditate? Why do people that? That's the muse. Whatever the muse is, it's like talking about God. What's God? I don't know. It depends on who you're talking to.
Yeah.
God is a feeling.
Yeah.
God is something that fucking thing that keeps you inspired. It keeps the gasoline at a high octane.
Well, it's something that
That's how I see it.
It's something that gets you away from your ego, like with writing. Something that gets you away from your ego and into your mind, into your consciousness, into like your perceptions of things and your ability to express it. And it's just it's a focus thing. And the more you focus on it, the more that muscle grows. The more you get adapted to it.
Because your ego is worried about how people are going to perceive you.
Right.
And that's not right.
Yeah,
You're
and
writing
how-
for
yeah,
somebody
you wanna
else.
look cool,
You want
or
to look
you-
cool.
yeah.
People are like, fuck.
Yeah.
I read that book that you wrote, man. Holy shit. I had no idea. You're amazing.
That's the grossest conversation
You're
ever.
the grossest.
Cocktail party in Hollywood. Some
Totally.
guy comes up to you and tells you you're amazing.
Dude.
You are a genius.
And it's
You're
always with those
You're
eyes.
so incredible.
I had no idea, dude.
Meanwhile, that guy's trying to sell you on some multi-level marketing scheme or something. There's
absolutely.
something he's trying to tap into you with.
I want to buy that book. I want to option your book, man.
Oh,
I want
here
to
it
turn
comes.
it into a
Here it
fucking
comes.
movie.
I also have a script I'd love you to see.
Yeah. What's it? Is it a Disney? Is it about? Is
That's
it
the
about
one thing-
animals talking?
I really love about living in Texas is
Yeah.
there's no Hollywood. There's no show business. I don't have to deal with any of these people with like alternative agendas.
We
The
just moved
worst-
to I want to go back to that, but we just moved to Santa Barbara.
Santa
And
Barbara's awesome.
Santa Barbara. It's funny.
I
Like,
love it
why
out
does
there.
everybody fucking think that? It is
Montecito.
awesome.
I love it out there. So
Why?
pretty because it's beautiful.
Because it's beautiful. What about the people?
Uh,
I'm not.
they're
I'm
a
not.
little elitist. There's a lot of elitist
Okay,
people
so that's a
out there.
perfect place for
Yeah.
me. So I grew up in Santa Barbara.
Mm-hmm.
I was in Paso Robles, which is ranch country, about 2 hours above Santa Barbara. And then we moved to Santa Barbara when I was 11. And it was Montecito, but it was a very different Montecito. Like, yes, there were a couple of rich people. Yes, my dad was doing okay by then. He had done Marcus Welby. He did, at that time, he did Amityville Horror. So he had a little bit of money. But we
remember that.
bought, what would now be a $35 million home in Montecito.
Right.
He bought for $600,000. Same fucking house.
Right,
Do you know what I
right.
mean? So
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
a
yeah.
different Montecito. And then whatever, group I grew up with. But the point is I went to jail there a lot. I just did. I just liked it. Instead of the museum, I went to jail. I was like, no, Mom, I'm going to go to jail today. And then, so in LA, Venice Beach, I love Venice Beach, but Venice Beach has even changed. You used to know everybody, and
Oh, yeah.
everybody kind of coexisted beautifully. And then Venice Beach changed. It got totally randomly violent.
Became
little
very
kids,
dangerous.
very dangerous.
Yeah.
Little kids. Okay, so we moved to Malibu. We're close to Laird. I know Laird and Gabby and all that thing, but it never landed. So we were always talking about moving, even though we were kind of building a house and we were finalizing everything. We're always talking. We talk about Texas. My mom's from Texas. We were talking about East Coast. We were talking about Europe. All these places, but never Santa Barbara. I would never move back to Santa Barbara. Because, by the way, honey, if we move to Santa Barbara, which you love so much and you think is so beautiful, our little girls will eventually, for sure, go to prison. That was in my mind.
Why?
Because in my
your
mind, I had
childhood?
built, totally.
Huh.
Most of my friends that grew up in Montecito are dead. Like
Really?
36 out of 50.
Really?
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, they all
From
died.
what?
heroin epidemic, punk rock,
Oh God.
driving accidents.
36
everything.
out of 50.
Out of 50.
Wow.
Best friend Jason Sears, who was the lead singer of Rich Kids on LSD, RKL, which was a big punk band that influenced a bunch of people. Nirvana, Pearl Jam, all these people.
Rich Kids on LSD is a great name for a
Should
band.
look it up. Can you look it up? Jason Sears, Rich Kids on LSD. We got a tattoo at the same time. I got a tattoo from Freddie Negretti that's gone now because I removed it. But it was a big Jesus with blood coming out of the hands. And Jason,
Jesus.
that same night, got eat shit on his ass. See if you can find Jason's ass that says eat shit on it.
Wow.
You're going to put that in? Jason Sears, eat shit. Yeah. Where is it? Oh, you got to just keep looking. Yeah, it'll be there. So why was I? Oh, so eventually, when we finally said, look, we're not moving, we should be grateful, we're not grateful enough. That's the problem. We're not grateful enough. But Malibu just didn't kind of sit. And then one day I'm
What
lying
didn't you
on
like
the
about
bed.
Malibu?
I love Malibu. It's just remote.
Yeah.
Like we already are remote in Paso Robles. We have a place in Paso Robles, a place where I grew up, not the ranch where I grew up. It's about 3 miles down the road, but that's remote, and a remote that I love. I love remote, but I love extremes. I don't want to be sort of next to Santa Monica, and it's 20 miles away, and it takes 2.5 hours to get there.
Right.
You and I were talking about that. I don't want to sit in traffic for half my life.
Right.
I just don't want to.
Yeah.
If I'm going to be somewhere, I want to be somewhere. So Santa Barbara represented a place where you kind of had your own piece of property, but everything was 10 minutes away. You got dance class for the girls. You got soccer. You got this.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was the thing. But never was I going to go back to Santa Barbara. I finally put on Zillow Santa Barbara. One house came up, and that's the house that we bought, and it was Joe Walsh's old house.
Oh wow.
Which is amazing.
That's incredible.
Incredible.
That's
which
incredible.
I was stoked. And I asked him. Anyway, I have to finish the story.
Okay.
Is that I was so freaked out about moving up to Santa Barbara. I still hadn't made the kind of transition that I contracted a mild case of Bell's palsy.
Really?
Yeah, like literally was stressing out. My wife was like, "You got to," and I'm not a stress guy. And she was like, "You got to mellow the fuck out." I'm like, "Yeah, but you don't know what's gonna happen when we move up here. It's like it's gonna be."
So your face started like sagging?
So literally, I'm washing my face. And I'm doing this, and it just started going.
When
and
was this?
4 months ago.
Okay, that's a
4.5
side
months
effect of the
ago.
vaccine too. That's one of the side effects of
I've heard
COVID-19
that.
vaccines.
And
Yeah.
I've also heard that speech impediments. I've heard a lot of things. Kids taking vaccines.
Yeah.
And things happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That vaccine in particular.
That one.
The mRNA one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know quite a few people that develop Bell's palsy from them. Well, whatever you want to call it.
Are you serious?
Yeah, facial paralysis. Yeah. I know 2 people specifically
I
that
wonder if
developed facial, like droopy face.
Because when my older kids,
went away.
When my older kids were young, there were 17 vaccinations,
Mm-hmm.
and now that my younger kids are young, there's 56.
72.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a series of them, but it's ultimately 72 shots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
And
a scary prospect, man.
well, the fucked up thing is if you talk about it, you're an anti-vaxxer and you're a
You
conspiracy
talk about anything.
theorist. But that's a big one because they've done a really good job of demonizing anyone who questions
Yeah.
a medicine that might be correlated with a bunch of fucking serious diseases.
Yeah, exactly.
And for whatever reason,
Profit.
they've just done a great job of gaslighting people.
Yeah.
And scaring the shit out of people by labeling anybody who did, like, look what they did to Jenny McCarthy. Do you remember when Jenny McCarthy had a kid and her kid had autism and she thought that autism had possibly come from vaccines and they basically ran her out of Hollywood?
But why would they do that? What's the reason?
Money.
What do they benefit? Money.
Well,
What's
the
what I
thing
said
is,
before, money.
during the Reagan administration, the vaccine companies, pharmaceutical drug companies that are making vaccines, they said we are unable to make these vaccines if we're liable. Because if we're liable, there's too many lawsuits are going to come our way because vaccines cannot be completely safe and effective just by virtue of the mechanism in which they work. You know, you have an irritant, you have this virus, this dead virus. Your body sees the aluminum or whatever it is. It reacts to that in a negative way and it finds the dead virus. It develops antibodies just by the way they work.
Right.
When you vaccinate an enormous amount of people, you're going to have a certain amount of people people that have a negative reaction. If we have lawsuits for every person that has a negative reaction, we're going to go out of business.
Yeah.
So they made them immune. And you know what happened? Immediately they're like, well, you need a vaccine for this, and you need to go vaccine for that. And then
knowing that there was no drawback.
Hepatitis B vaccines.
Right.
Babies.
Right when you're born.
Right when you're born.
Right when you're born.
You know, there's also doctors that say it doesn't even really work for babies, but what you're doing is you're conditioning the parents to accept the fact that your child is going to get regularly vaccinated. My doctor, fortunately, our pediatrician wanted to put the kids on a different schedule, a slower schedule, and he didn't want them to have any vaccines until they were 2.
Your doctor in California?
Yes, and it was not like a quack. He was like, I think the way to do it, I mean, there's a schedule of vaccines your kids have to get unless you have religious exemption.
But let's not assault your children with a potential poison because everybody is different. If I take a bong hit, I might end up under the table. If you take a bong hit, you actually may feel smarter and clearer. I remember Dean Potter, who was a climber, and he was like, I stopped smoking pot for 4 months, but when I started smoking pot, I could feel the hold at 2,000 feet.
Oh, yeah.
Sheer cliff, nothing underneath, no ropes, but I felt more confident. And for me, I go, if I took a bong hit up there, I could be 4 feet up and be freaking out.
Right. It's different for everybody.
Because everybody has different brains. It's like psychopharmaceuticals. Let's just give them all lithium or let's give them all that. You have to experiment. And the idea of experimenting with that shit is super scary.
It is. It is super scary. And it's also super scary when you're not liable for any of the repercussions. And you're just pushing it on people because you're a corporation, and corporations just want to make money. Their thing is just unlimited growth. They just have an obligation to their shareholders. Every quarter they want to make more money, and they just keep ramping it up.
Yeah,
like we're
I remember
doing really well this year.
Seinfeld talking about that. He was like, I remember back in the 70s in comedy, you know, green rooms and all that, and we'd all be fucking with each other, and it had never had anything to do with money because nobody was really making money, like money. Like tons of money. It was just about what set are you going to do? What are you trying out?
Right.
Are you going to fail? Are you not going to fail? You know, but it was this community again, and I think that things have grown into, not that I wanted to talk about this or I even thought about it before, but the money thing is a very interesting thing to me. You know, and if you want to take it back to the book, which we can talk about later,
money
it's
is
like the anti-celebrity. It's like, how do you stay grounded?
Yeah.
How do you stay accountable? And why would you stay accountable? Because I actually give a fuck about people instead of just being in it for myself.
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference.
Well, I think one of the things that happens to people with money is you didn't have money when you were young. Now all of a sudden you have money, and you get really scared about losing that money.
Take it away.
Yeah, you get scared it's going to go away because now you realize, oh my God, it's so much better to not have to worry about your bills, and it's so much better to have some money to buy things.
Yeah, totally.
And then you start thinking only about money, and you start making decisions only for money. Yeah. And then you go down the weird road. Yeah. And it, you know, really distorts artists. It fucks a lot of people up.
Yeah.
You know, you see it in a lot of bands. They start making like poppy songs when they used to be like raw and gritty when they were younger. It used to be like authentic, and then all of a sudden they're making like theme songs for films. It's like weird fucking romance songs.
For rom-coms.
Like Aerosmith went through a bunch of that shit.
Totally.
Where to me, as an Aerosmith, lover as a kid, to see them, go from like Dream On to like the shit they were.
Now, and I wonder with like drug addiction and all that, I wonder if that's like, if the parallel is I went back to heroin at that point because I just couldn't fucking deal. Do you know what I mean?
I think it's when they get off heroin and they start wanting to make money. And they're like, how can I don't know. I need to make some money. I spent all my fucking money.
But I wonder if there's any connection, like with, remember Philip Seymour Hoffman, like one of the greatest actors that ever lived. And I've known his mother since I was doing theater in Rochester, New York. It was like a 20-year-old, 21-year-old, and she would come up to me and she said, I think you're a fine actor. And I go, oh, thank you very much. And she goes, my son just moved to New York. He wants to be an actor. And I said, oh, what's his name? Phil. Phil's his name. Oh, well, tell Phil good luck. Good luck to Phil. It's like anybody who wants to be an actor, just the odds of it happening is just not going to happen. And then Phil became this guy, 22 years of sobriety, who had an inkling in the beginning and said, you know what, I don't want this to control like my thing, so I'm not going to do it. I'm going to give everything I am to acting, and I'm going to try to make the best career, theater career, movie career, whatever. And then you know, and I have it in the book where I see him on the street and I'm crazy and I've gotten into a fight with my wife and I'm walking down Columbus Avenue and I have cords on, I have no shoes, I have no shirt. On my way, I'm out of my fucking head, and I look to my left and I see Nick Nolte at a cafe, and we lock eyes. And I've never met Nick Nolte, I've never seen him, and it will happen that I actually will have a relationship with him later on. But we lock eyes, and the moment is he's seeing in me what he used to be, or seeing in me what I'm to become. I'm seeing in him what I'm to become later, right?
Right.
Then I see Philip Seymour Hoffman, who's standing there talking. I go, "Hey, Phil. It's Josh. What's up? You're doing so well, man. Fuck. Good for you, dude."
No shirt.
No shirt, no shoes. And he's standing there with one foot pointed toward me and another foot pointed in the direction that he wants to go. You know how people stand there and they're like, "Good to see you, man."
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, good. Good.
Oh, no.
Now, how is that the guy that died of a heroin overdose?
Did he get injured?
No.
No, he just got back on it. Because sometimes what happens is people get injured.
I know, and they have surgery, and then they have back, and then they get on.
I know quite a few people.
Oxycontin. Me too. I know a lot of people that's kind of been the trajectory.
No back pain, nothing.
To me, there's another parallel, and the parallel is I just want to make money. Finally, I'm sick of doing independence. I'm sick of doing this and not making any money. And then you start doing, whatever he was, Hunger Games or.
And then you feel hollow. And then you want to fill yourself.
What we were talking about before.
Right. You want to numb yourself up because you feel like a whore.
You feel like a whore.
Yeah.
It's like there's one thing about like actually finding solace and saying, "Hey, man, I'm older. I'm going to do this movie. I get it. I would like, I got college coming up for my kids," and you justify it in a way that's okay. And then there's one thing about you've identified yourself so much as an artist that to release yourself from that identity in other people's minds, again, going back to the ego, that it just fucks you up.
Right.
You just can't deal.
And then you want to escape from your reality.
Exactly.
Yeah, you want to numb yourself. Yeah. Well, that is a real fucking thing, man. And if you've ever done a project where it's like really, I did a really bad sitcom once. And I remember.
That you acted in?
Oh, yeah. It was terrible. And I remember while I was doing it, I was just imagining, like, what if this is my life? What if this stupid piece of shit sitcom goes for like 10 years?
10 years.
And I have to keep. Because there's sitcoms that inexplicably are very successful, or were in the 90s.
Yeah.
And very successful. And they were terrible.
Terrible.
They're terrible.
But people love them.
Well, people want to be
like
numb.
eating ice cream.
They just want to slack jaw, sit in front of the computer or whatever, the TV, and eat SpaghettiOs, just fucking numb themselves to some mundane bullshit.
Yeah.
And if you're doing that kind of a thing, you live in hell. And a lot of those people that do those things, they wind up doing drugs because they just feel very lost.
But if you do that and you live in hell.
Yeah, you live in hell.
Which it is, to me,
It sounds
you.
crazy to a person listening. Oh, you're making $50,000 a week. How are you living? You're living in hell. Like, what are you talking about?
No.
Most people would be like,
point.
that's great. That would be amazing. But if you want to do a thing, if like you want to be a great comic or you want to be a great actor, and you're doing,
you have to have incentive,
right? You have to want to create something really good,
right?
And when you can't create something really good and you're just doing it for money, you feel trapped and you feel like shit. And then you have to reward yourself for this stupid fucking thing you do.
Yeah.
So what do? You go out and buy a nice Mercedes. You get a fucking house in Malibu. Now you have a large monthly nut that you have to cover. But when you take people over your house, like, look how I'm living. Look at this ocean view. Come on.
How much of this house do you use? Nothing.
Yeah, almost nothing.
But
I always say to my friends, my young comic friends that are coming up, your house is just your house. I remember when I first got a nice apartment when I moved to North Hollywood in 1994. I got a loft apartment and a pool table in it and a nice stereo. And I was like, this is incredible. I have a nice apartment. This is amazing. And then after a while, it just became my house. It became where I live. And I realized at that moment, I'm like, oh, it's all the same feeling. Like, all you need in a house is it to be comfortable.
Yeah.
You need a TV and a kitchen and
it's
a
not
couch
supposed
and a bed.
to. It's supposed. It's the place that you sleep.
Yeah, it's a place where you relax.
It's not the place where you live the entirety of your life.
You can relax almost anywhere that's comfortable and safe. That's all you need. And then everything else is kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
It's kind of the things that you get for your money. It's like there's a lot of things that people spend a lot of money on, and they're not really worth it. You don't really get anything out of it.
That's why it was interesting walking in here and, man cave. I hate that fucking term, man cave. Man cave. It's like gay cave. It's
well,
like
it's man cave because no woman would ever let me decorate
do
this place this way.
But it's not that no woman wouldn't like it. I think there's some.
Well, my
there's-
wife likes it when she comes here.
That's
She just
what I'm
doesn't
saying.
want to live in it.
She doesn't want to live. Do you
Yeah.
want to live in it?
No, I wouldn't want to live here.
Well, there you
But
go.
I might, if I was like a single guy, I might decorate my house like this.
But it's things. The point is that there's things when I walked in here, it made me smile because I started seeing things that inspire. And you like to surround yourself. Like if somebody comes in and does an interior design of your office. Ugh.
Yeah. Ugh.
And they go, we brought in this amazing fabric from Paris. And you go, but I don't like it. And I remember when we were doing our house, we were like, I said, look, man, you can get things from Target. I don't want to feel that people have to I don't want anybody to feel that they have to take their shoes off. That's what I don't. I want them to feel that they can scuff up the floor because that's the mark that they made when they walked in my house.
Yes.
And maybe I don't even like the scuff. I don't like that they walked so heavy.
Yeah.
But it's their mark.
Right.
We are leaving our mark.
Right.
So I said,
That's how I feel about this table. That's why this table has all these stains on it.
Seriously, it's
Yeah.
good. It has
Yeah.
character.
Yeah, it's alive.
And that's the thing is like
Yeah.
when we built the ranch, I said, there were shelves. I said, I want linoleum, or what is it, Formica, linoleum on the shelves. And we have 150-year-old barnwood, but along with linoleum, because linoleum reminds me of like trailer parks and shit. And it just makes me fucking smile. So I saw this thing when I walked in because I have one. And that is Ralph Steadman's print that you have.
Oh, okay.
And
Hunter
here's
S.
the
Thompson
story.
print.
So Ralph Steadman, Johnny Depp gave me Ralph Steadman's number because he was close with Hunter. And my son was graduating. My son's an artist, and he was obsessed with Steadman, right? And I called Ralph Steadman. He said, hello. And I said, hey, listen, you don't know me. I'm a friend of Johnny's and this. I said, my son's graduating, and like the greatest gift I could ever get him, and this is not just to throw Steadman under the bus because it comes full circle. But I said, my son's graduating. Can you do like a little thing? I'll pay you for it. Can you just draw a little thing for him for his graduation? There was a long, long pause, and he goes, why the fuck would I do that? And so that conversation went nowhere. I was like, what the fuck? What an asshole. And then 20 years went past, and my book is designed by one of his proteges.
Oh, wow.
And then, so Joey Feldman, he called me one day and he said, Ralph wants to send you a print. And I said, no way. Does he know? Or that we have like a history? And he said, no, I don't think so. So I sent him a voice memo of the history, and I said, I never held it against you. I totally understand it, especially with somebody. So he sent me one for my son and one for me. And I have it hanging up in my house.
That's cool.
I love having that thing, man.
He was an interesting artist.
He is an interesting artist.
Yeah, I should say is.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the stuff that he did, it's like that's also in that Gonzo documentary where it talks about how Hunter gave him acid and mushrooms, and he just started fucking drawing like really crazy shit.
Yeah.
And like the thing for, do you remember the thing he did for the Kentucky Derby is decadent and
that was
depraved?
like the first thing, wasn't it? I think that was how they got together.
See if we can find that. The Kentucky Derby is decadent and depraved.
Yeah. It's a really good article, actually. Whoa, that was fast, dude.
Yeah.
But look at that.
That article is fucking amazing.
It's an amazing article.
One of my favorite Hunter pieces.
And I don't think that they spent a lot of time together, but I think...
Hunter and him?
No, I don't.
There's a lot of it in the documentary where they're hanging out together.
Really?
Yeah, he picks him up at the airport in his VW Bug.
No, I know it exists, but I don't think that they spent the amount of time that you would think, given that they collaborated so much. I think Ralph was back in Britain, and Hunter was... I know, look at that. Look at that. See, that's the kind of shit. Do you miss that? Like, as part of driving your car and all that?
That's the thing from the... Put your headphones on for a second.
Yeah.
Take the thing out for an honest run down the coast. I would start in Golden Gate Park, thinking only to run a few long curves to clear my head.
Oh, it's so good.
A wavering alcoholic off the wagon, but in a matter of minutes, I'd be out at the beach with the sound of the engine in my ears, surf booming up on the seawall, and a fine empty road stretching all the way down to Santa Cruz. There was no helmet on those nights, no speed limit, and no cooling it down around the curves.
I love seeing the sand in the road.
Yeah.
Then into second gear, forgetting the cars and letting the beast wind out. 35, 45. Then into third, not worried about green or red signals, but only some other werewolf loony. Now there's no sound except the wind. The needle leans down on 100. Wind-burned eyeballs strain to see down the center line. No room at all for mistakes. That's when the strange music starts.
That's great.
The edge. There is no honest way to explain it, because the only people who really know where it is are the ones who have gone over. The others, the living, are those who pushed their control as far as they felt they could handle it, and then pulled back or slowed down. But the edge is still out there.
That guy was fucking amazing.
It's great. It's great. It's fucking amazing. What do you love about his writing? And what type, like Fear and Loathing?
Well, I was just reading Hell's Angels recently, actually.
That's the book that I go back to most.
Well, that's really him when he was starting, right? That was the beginning of the sort of gonzo journalism stuff because he was kind of mixing in fiction with reality. And that's one of the things that pissed off the Hell's Angels is that he took a lot of liberties with the truth to try to like paint a picture.
Right. Which was his deal, which was his style later on, is like exaggerating and kind of romancing his own life.
Oh, he was out of his fucking mind.
Out of his mind, but he was also one of the most brilliant technical writers that ever was. And that's what's forgotten. Like even people talk about Kerouac, and Kerouac was like, you know, he wrote on the road, and he was on the road, and it was the Hunter S. Thompson type of thing. And you're like, you know, he edited on the road for 7 years.
Oh, wow.
And nobody knows that because Kerouac kind of like, you know, he put forth this thing of like first thought, best thought, don't edit, don't. It was, again, a
bullshit.
whole, like, it's total horseshit.
Oh, wow.
That's why I say it goes back to writers. It's a labor.
Yeah.
You sit down and you write all the fucking time.
My friend Ari on his laptop, he's got a little piece of paper above the keyboard that says the first draft of everything is shit.
It's true. It's Hemingway.
Yeah, Hemingway wrote that. Yeah.
You know his first book, Hemingway's first book, was lost by his wife?
What?
Yeah.
She lost it?
Yeah. She had grabbed it for him and was on a train, and then she went to the bathroom and actually left the satchel on the seat, and when she came out of the bathroom, it was gone.
Oh, my God.
Never to be found again.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I know. Can you imagine?
Oh, my God.
All that work.
Did that marriage work out?
I don't think so.
I bet she did it on purpose, that bitch.
Maybe. I bet she did it on purpose, that bitch. Yeah, man.
I love writing. I love when someone's a really good writer because you just get these like moments where you're like, yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's it.
Yeah.
You know, these moments. And Hunter had a lot of those moments where you're like, God damn it, that's good.
You have so many people who were great young, and I know that there's a danger and a chaos within, like, the vortex within which they lived, but it couldn't survive. Do you know what I mean?
Of them.
When Hunter he was just too fucking alcoholic.
Yeah.
And Dylan Thomas became too fucking alcoholic.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things that you go, you were literally writing things that aren't possible. You were putting together like wordsmithing things that are
Magic.
Magic.
Yeah. Magic.
How he was describing. It's that thing. Whatever it is you're doing, how do you get to that place which most people can't touch?
Well, you can't neglect your physical health. That's the problem, is that in this chase for the muse, in this dance you do with the drugs and the alcohol and the wild writing. And, you know, I'm sure you've seen Hunter S. Thompson's, there's a thing that a reporter, he hung out with Hunter S. Thompson and detailed what a day in the life of Hunter S. Thompson is.
Who was
well,
it?
There's a band called Beardy Man, and Beardy Man took me and Greg Fitzsimmons reading off Hunter S. Thompson's routine, his daily routine before he writes, and made a song out of it. It's fucking incredible. Yeah. See if you can find that. Because the routine was so insane. And this was like really what he would do. He'd wake up
like a discipline?
2 in the afternoon. No. Chaos.
Okay, great.
Full on chaos. Here, let's put the headphones back on.
Yeah.
Start from the beginning.
Beardy Man.
3 p.m., Rise. Chivas Regal with morning papers. 3:45, cocaine. Another glass of Chivas, another Dunhill. 4:05 p.m., by the way, first cup of coffee and a Dunhill. 4:15, cocaine. Another Dunhill. 4:30, cocaine. Coffee, Dunhills. Cocaine at 5:45. 6 o'clock, smoking grass, take the edge off the day. 7 p.m.
Day, 3 hours into it.
3 hours in, lit. 7 p.m. Lunch, margaritas, taco salad, onion rings, carrot cake, bean fritter, cocaine. Okay, 9 p.m. Start snorting cocaine seriously. 10 p.m. Drops acid. 11 p.m. I don't know what that is. Cocaine and grass. Cocaine, etc., etc. 12 midnight. Hunter S. Thompson is ready to write. 6 a.m. In the hot tub with champagne. 6 a.m. In the hot tub with champagne. 6 a.m. In the hot tub with champagne. So this is like a electronic dance music song that plays in clubs sometimes.
Super funny. When did you do that?
Oh, it was a long time ago, many years ago.
Did you ever live like that?
No, I've never even done coke.
Wow.
Yeah, I've never fucked around with coke. I like psychedelics. I like weed. I like a little alcohol every now and then, but I don't fuck around with anything that's going to kill me. I'm not interested.
Yeah.
And I'm not interested in anything that helps my ego, that boosts it up, makes me fearless.
That bloats it?
I'm not interested in any of that.
Yeah.
I like things that make me scared. I like things that make me nervous.
That's
things
what
that
I was
make me
talking
feel
about early
vulnerable.
on. What do you...
I like to feel vulnerable. I like it.
You like
It's
to
good.
challenge yourself.
Yeah. I think
in
if
your
you don't,
perception and how you perceive certain things.
I think I like voluntary adversity, physical voluntary adversity, but also I think mental voluntary adversity, and I think that's what I like about like psychedelics. I think there's like you have to go on like a journey, and you can't control it. It takes you somewhere, and then when you're back, you realize like you ain't shit. Just get all that ego stuff out of your system. Relax and just be appreciative and enjoy life and try to spread as much positivity as you can. That's what you're here for. Do your best at everything you do. That's what you're here for.
And
it
how
sort
do
of
you
like
find yourself
recenters
doing that once you're not on it?
The
The incorporation of it into your life.
Just remember, there's profound moments where I think, change you forever. And those, if you can hold on to them, some people don't hold on to them, but it's a matter of intention, right? It's a matter of like, what are you trying to do? You're trying to be better at life. Well, if you're trying to be better at life, you can hold on to it. If you're not, if you're just trying to like be the man or,
exactly.
And get all the accolades or, win a fucking Grammy or whatever you're trying to do. Like if that's your real goal, like you're going to get lost because it's a shitty goal.
How old were you when you took a hallucinogen for the first time?
30.
I was 13.
Whoa, son, that's a little too early. I wouldn't recommend that.
I wouldn't recommend it either, but it changed my life. I had, by the way, I took it twice in a 24-hour period.
Whoa.
So I took it 13, had the greatest trip ever, like still affected by it.
Wow.
And then I took it again that night and went to hell.
Oh, no.
I don't know.
You got cocky.
Oh, no. No.
Psychedelics want to bring you down a notch.
It just did what
happy.
it did. It did.
Yeah.
It did. And I truly believe that psychedelics, I don't do psychedelics anymore, but I think I did. But I do breath work. I do shit like that. And you go, can you get there? And I go, yeah, I've had some of the most amazing hallucinations I've ever had, most profound hallucinations I've ever had. Holotropic breathing. Breath work with Laird going off, and if you do it long enough, you just reach a place. Or if you're in a sauna at 240 degrees for an hour doing breath work, you're going to go places.
Yeah, no doubt. Sensory deprivation tank, you don't need anything, and you trip balls. If they could give you in a pill form what the experience you get from a sensory deprivation tank, it would be a very popular drug.
Yeah,
and it's completely safe.
And a productive drug.
Yes, very productive.
So there's sensory, you say the sensory deprivation tank, but I just saw, you can see it online or whatever, where people literally put a thing, they go into a room and there's silence. It's not like a, where they don't talk, a meditation retreat or whatever, but they literally go into a room by themselves. They don't see anybody else. They put a thick mask on and they're in for 4 days, 5 days. Have you seen that?
I have heard of people doing stuff like that.
Yeah. What about that?
Well, I think being alone with your thoughts is uncomfortable for people, and I think a lot of people avoid that.
Yeah.
They avoid really thinking, and you're forced to really think.
Yeah.
You know, when you're in those sort of situations,
Yeah.
you're forced to be alone with your thoughts. You know.
Scary.
Well, we're always distracted. You know, we're distracted
especially
by
now.
people and devices and input and news and social media, and there's like constantly stuff coming in, and sometimes you don't. Like, how do I feel about everything? Like, what do I even know? Have I ever really considered things? Like, you need time alone. You need time to think. You know, that's what I really like about. That's why I work out by myself. That's why I like.
You work out by yourself?
Yeah, yeah.
You don't like having a trainer?
I mean, I've had a lot of trainers. I appreciate them for technical advice and stuff like that. But there's a meditative aspect of working out by myself that I think is very important. It's also discipline. Like, it's easy to go somewhere and the guy tells you, okay, 10 reps, but I write my own workouts out. And
based on that day. And
yeah,
how you
well,
feel.
I know what I want to do. I'm pretty good at it. So
it's funny. I haven't heard many people say that, but I feel, and it's not just some bullshit like affectation, rebellious thing. When I'm with it, and I appreciate trainers too, and I've worked with some great trainers, but they make me want to do less.
Why?
You know, they go, do 10. And I go, but why?
Oh, no, you're one of those guys.
I'm one of those assholes. I'm one of those assholes.
Why?
But I will actually push myself. If, say, 12, just for a random word, a random number, 12 is my limit. I'm good at pushing myself to 15. Or Jeff Cavallari, do you know who that is?
No.
Athlean X.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that guy, yeah.
Super smart guy.
Yeah.
And we would go back and forth, and I'd be like, look, if I'm at my last 3 reps, why do we have to rest for 2 minutes? Like, who said that? Who made that up? Is it really a recovery thing, 2 minutes before you can go back into 12 more reps? What if we just rest 30 seconds and then you're right back into that thing almost immediately, and those are the things that are tearing the tissues and growing the muscle and all that kind of stuff. So just experimenting with it all. Again,
There's
this
a lot of
all goes
schools of
back
thought.
down to what we watched of
Yeah.
like, what are we doing to just live a little more vividly? Mm-hmm. How are we pushing ourselves? How are we changing our perception? How are we pushing our perception?
Well, it depends on what you're trying to do, right? If you're just trying to get like conditioned, give yourself the minimal amount of rest and do it for as long as possible, and then take time off afterwards for your body to heal, and then
As a
get back
base.
after it.
It's just a base.
But it depends on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to get
that's true.
strong, I always recommend taking out like long periods of time in between sets. I take like 5 minutes, maybe even more, in between sets.
To come back in at your strongest. To
but
tell
I have
your
long
body.
workouts. My workout's like 2 hours sometimes, 2.5 hours, because I have these long breaks in between. But because of that, it's, you know who Pavel Tsatsouline is?
No.
He's one of the godfathers of kettlebells. He's one of the first people that introduced kettlebells to America from Russia.
Yeah.
And their philosophy, his strong first philosophy is that strength is a skill, and you don't work on a skill when you're tired. So it's all about how many repetitions you do, and that's what builds strength.
Right.
So it doesn't mean you have to do 10 in a row. Like, say if 10 is your max, say if you pick up a weight and you can do 10 cleans and presses, and on the 10th one you're like, ugh. His philosophy is do 5. Do 5, wait a long time, do another 5. So you've got the 10 in, but you've got the 10 in with perfect form.
Right.
And then you're still getting the same amount of repetitions, but you're not breaking yourself down to the point where you might get hurt or where you're doing it incorrectly or poor form. So that's how I work out.
I talked to me too. I talked to my wife a lot about that. My wife would say, because I'm all about form.
Yes.
Because otherwise you just get hurt, and what's
you
the
get
fucking
hurt.
point?
Yeah. I rarely get hurt from lifting weights. And
Have you ever gotten hurt in jiu-jitsu?
Oh, yeah.
A lot. Everybody tears and pops and meniscus.
I've had surgeries and fucking bulging discs and torn this and torn that. Yeah, you have to. It's
I
a
had
sport where you're
sciatica.
trying to kill each other.
It's true.
You're trying to
It's
get
just
really
the
good at
nature of
killing
the
people
sport.
with your body. So
I
other
had-
people are doing that to you.
I had sciatica for a year and a half.
Wee.
Bad sciatica, a 9mm slip between L5 and S1.
How'd you get rid of it?
And they wanted to do surgery, and I had surgery when I was really young because I had a slip disc between C5 and C6, and they took out part of my hip and they went in through my neck. They moved everything over, and they replaced my disc with part of my hip back when they used to do that.
They used to replace your disc with part of your hip?
Yeah, they would chisel out a part of your
Like
hip.
a bone?
Yeah.
And that's what your disc was now? A piece of bone?
Is now.
That doesn't even make sense. Your
Yeah,
disc is
because
supposed
they-
to be spongy.
I know. I don't understand why.
They put a piece of bone in there?
Yeah, and it worked. It
Really?
actually worked. Yeah. Dr.
Wow.
Delamarter. I never forget his name.
Jesus.
Mm.
Now
So, yeah. And
have
then they used
articulate-
cadaver bone for a while, and now they use what?
Well, it depends. There's artificial discs. I know a couple people that have artificial discs.
And it worked.
Yeah, my friend Eddie got it done in his lower back. He was basically bone on bone, constant inflammation. So he got a titanium articulating disc.
Yeah,
It's in
yeah.
his back. What is this? Surgeon may take a small piece of bone from the hip called an autograft to use in a neck surgery called anterior cervical discectomy and fusion. The bone is placed between the space between the vertebrae to stimulate bone healing and promote fusion. Oh, so you got your neck fused.
Yeah. They call it a Brolin graft.
Oh, really?
No.
Hey. Wow. So
Yeah.
that's different.
was-
That's you got your neck fused.
Fused.
Yeah.
Which they probably don't even do fusion.
They do.
And
They still
well,
do
and
fusions.
if it's a massive break or something like that, maybe.
Yeah, I don't recommend it. There's other ways you can heal bulging discs, and one of them is there's a process called Regenikine, and Regenikine is I had that done in L.A. In Santa Monica. They used to do it in Germany. You used to have to go to Germany to do it, and like Kobe Bryant went over there, and Peyton Manning went over there, and what they do is they take your blood out. And it's like platelet-rich plasma,
Yeah,
but it's a more advanced.
PRP,
It's a
right.
more advanced version of it, and they spin your blood in the centrifuge, and they add some stuff to it, and it turns it into like one of the most potent anti-inflammatories. And then what they do is you lie down there, and they inject it in your back. They have like these little needles. I think there's an Instagram post of me getting it done on my lower back. And
Did
so-
you have a slip disc in your lower back?
bulging?
Bulging.
You know, it's essentially a bulging disc, but it can go back.
Was
Bulging disc can go back.
Well, that was
And
my
you
experience.
You also have to have traction, like decompression.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch. There it is. So that's my back.
I had that done.
So they take that and they stick all that shit. But all
And
that
they drill that, don't they?
They just
That's
put
a
holes.
drill.
No, it's just
No, but
needles.
I know it's needles, but it's not like acupuncture. They actually drill that, then they put the needle in, don't they?
No, they just shove that needle in
Okay,
place.
I see.
It's just like a syringe
On each side of your spinal column,
Yeah,
right?
it's like a syringe,
Right.
and then inside the syringe they pump in the Regenikine stuff.
Yeah.
and then it fills those areas up with this platelet-rich plasma that's been enhanced, and it just heals everything.
And did you
Does a
feel like it
phenomenal
helped?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You felt-
it helped my neck so much. My neck was so fucked.
Jacked.
My neck was so fucked. I was getting numb fingers and pain in my elbow.
I have
because
that now.
Do you really?
Yeah.
You should go to that place.
Yeah, and when I ride motorcycles also, when
Yeah?
I have my hands up like, I mean, I have shoulder issues, but I have that slip disc was a 9
Why do
millimeter
you like
slip.
to do this? Why not do this? Why this?
Because that looks cooler.
Does it? Not to me.
It looks super
This
cool
looks
when you're
retarded.
doing it right now.
This looks retarded. This looks retarded. This looks good. This looks like you can
Put it
avoid
up super
things.
high.
You can move
Put it
around.
up super high.
This is like
That looks
When you have to
retarded.
turn.
Yeah.
Like how are you gonna turn like that? You're not gonna do a good job.
You look like a gorilla,
This is
man.
better. This
That's
is
it.
better.
What about that?
This is better.
What about this?
Well, with Ducatis, I mean that's like you're down like
that's
this,
when
right?
that's when I finally crashed. Was a Ducati.
Oh, really? You went crazy?
No, I didn't go crazy. I didn't do anything differently. With Harleys, you go slower.
Right.
You
Right.
ride. It's about
And it's
the
loud, so people
communal-
know you're there.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
That's
People
a big
go,
one.
It's huge.
They have
man.
electric bikes now. I'm like, do you want to die?
They're fast.
They're so fast,
They're
but do you want to
super
die?
fast.
They make no sound.
Nobody can hear you.
Nobody
if
can
I'm
hear
riding
you.
in a grid of 16 guys,
Yeah.
because everybody thinks Hell's Angels. I go, there's nothing about it that's trying to emulate Hell's Angels, Mongols, any of that, 1%er thing. But when you hear that rumble coming down the road,
Yeah.
you can't wait to get the fuck out of the way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And that helps
That's
us.
true. That definitely helps you stay alive.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Loud
wanna do
pipes
that.
save lives. I've heard that many times.
So to finish that thought, what I did is I started, instead of resting, which is what doctors normally say, they say, do surgery, rest, sleep, see if that helps. If it doesn't help, do surgery. And I did the opposite, which later, Laird was like, anytime you get hurt, Laird will be like, movement. But this was before all that. But I started working out. And it got worse, and it got worse, and it got worse. But I continued to work out, and I started running, and I started doing pistol squats and all this kind of shit.
Ooh.
And then one day it was gone, and it never came back.
Really?
Never came back.
So you just beat it out of you.
I beat it out of me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, movement is everything. You need
Is
circulation,
everything.
and when
you need blood in there, which is why they do PRP, which is why they do
Yeah.
stem cell work or whatever.
yeah. And if you're just sitting there, the problem is you're also your body's gonna atrophy.
Yeah.
You're gonna lose strength, and then it's gonna make whatever injured that area in the first place.
But that
is
was
probably
always
a lack of
promoted by
strength.
doctors. Why would that always be promoted by doctors? Again, whether it's politicians or whether it's doctors or whether it's they're telling you this is. You got to eat from the 4 food groups, man. You're going to die otherwise. And you're
Well,
like,
you know
Then
that
that
there's a lot
changed
to
after-
that stuff, but the 4 food group shit is a lot of it. It's people just not knowing what the fuck they're talking about.
that's what I mean.
And also,
But
there's a
pretending like they
different
do.
perception back then of like what was healthy versus now. But it's also a lot of these doctors, they're not athletes. And they don't really understand like what's possible with the body. They just know how to fix things when they break.
Right.
And then for the average person, they say just rest, because the average person's not going to fucking do what you're doing anyway. So
No.
it's like why tell them? Like what you really need to do is movement, constant movement, and just beat that injury into submission.
That's right.
And no one's going to tell you that.
How
'cause-
do I feel better? Lose some weight.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
go do that uncomfortable thing. Start walking. Start
Mm-hmm.
slow. Maybe jog a little bit. Maybe
Yep.
lift a little something. That's why when you see those videos of these guys that just, for whatever's in their personality, they've had fucking enough. They're 400 pounds and they go, that's it. Buck stops here.
Yep.
I'm going to start doing my shit.
Yeah, they hit rock bottom.
They hit rock bottom.
Yeah.
And then you see this, again, what we were talking about before, incentive, where they just go, I don't give a shit.
Well, isn't that the same with everything? Like, isn't that how you quit drinking? You just hit
I
rock
was
bottom?
just about to say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I hit rock bottom when I was 15. You know, I was shooting coke at 15. Jeez. So, yeah, that thing that you didn't want to try, I did want to try. But that was that group. That's why so many of those guys died.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when I look at Hunter S. Thompson, who I love as a writer, when I look at Dylan Thomas, who I love as a writer, and all these guys that had this kind of amazing life, and I feel, too, paralleled. I had an amazing life, except nobody cared about mine. People really cared about theirs. I was just Josh that you wanted to stay the fuck away from. Well, like, that motherfucker's great to spend like an hour with, and then once it hits 10 o'clock and
Yeah.
the moon comes out and the clouds part, you don't want to be anywhere around. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then you get to that point where you go, when did Hunter S. Thompson, when did these guys just become like some kind of clown mask of themselves?
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, in the end, Hunter was definitely that. Did you ever see when Hunter was on Conan O'Brien's show?
no.
It was horrible. He could barely talk. You barely could understand him. Everything was mumbling. It was mumbling. It was everything. It was
really
real
good.
weird, and you know he got in a gunfight with his fucking neighbors. He's like shooting at his neighbors.
That's what I mean. It's at what point does
he was
it turn?
a full-on drunk, but it wasn't just that. His body was like rapidly deteriorating. He had
Hmm.
hip replacement surgery, and
And he was only 60.
7, I think.
That's not
Yeah.
old,
no,
man.
No, not that old.
That's young.
Not that old for what?
How old are you?
57.
I'm 56.
Yeah.
Like, my mom died at 55. The whole thing this book became was my mom dying at 55 and me thinking back then, she lived a nice, long life.
Isn't that crazy?
It's fucking crazy. And
crazy,
then it turned out that I was 55 when I wrote the book, which I'd never even,
Oh,
the
wow.
book kind of dictated itself. And then I went, holy fuck, I'm 55.
Wow.
I'm super young. I'm fucking super
well,
young.
in the
Like, yes, I
50s
have some joint issues, but I'm young for the
Right.
most part.
For the most part. Yeah, you're physically healthy. You're not falling apart.
Right.
You just have a few issues,
Yeah,
which is just wear and tear of life.
that's it.
Yeah, but there's some
life
people
lived
that
well.
if you don't take care of yourself and you don't eat well, and there's also a lot of other factors, genetic factors, but
Yeah.
you could fall apart pretty quick. But if you're a guy like Hunter that's doing coke and drinking every night, you can't do that.
No, you can't.
It just won't. And the writing was bad. Like his
Writing
the
was
only time he
really
wrote
bad.
anything good in later years was 2001, right after 9/11. Right after 9/11, he wrote this great piece. I want to say it was like for Sports Illustrated. It was I forget who he wrote it for, but he wrote this really great piece talking about what happens next after the Twin Towers fall. It's like he wrote this thing about waking up in the morning, seeing the Twin Towers fall,
Yeah.
and then realizing what's ahead for us.
Right.
It was very prescient. It was very good. It was very. It was.
Was it
old
accurate?
sc-
I mean,
yeah,
now
yeah,
that it's
yeah, it was
been-
dead on. It was dead on, and it was vintage Hunter. It's like he tapped back into it again.
It's on ESPN.
ESPN. That's it. Yeah.
ESPN,
Say-
this is the article?
Yeah,
This
this
is
is the
old.
article.
Would you send me this article if it's an
Yeah,
article,
yeah, I'll
a
send
long
it to you.
article? I would love that.
Yeah. But this is, this is the whole thing.
I mean, what's so great is when you go, I mean, this is kind of popping all over the place, but when you go back and you look at all the politicians, whatever side, you know, whatever red, blue they lean toward, it didn't matter because Hunter was there kind of looking for something different, and it wasn't all about him. When it came down, they all describe Hunter as this like crazy. It was so much fun to hang out with him, but there was never a lack of he was super intelligent.
Yes.
And wanted the best for everybody.
He was a real patriot.
He was a true patriot.
Yeah. Well, did you ever read Fear and Loathing on the Campaign Trail?
Yeah.
That's one of the more interesting pieces because you got this guy who's following around the campaign trail, and he knows he's only in it for this one time. So he's not like any of these other reporters. Yeah. He's just writing a book.
Yeah, what
these
are you
other
people do, fire him?
Yeah, well, exactly. And not only that, you can't because he's going to write a book. Like, he's writing a book. You can't fire him.
Whether you like it or not.
Yeah, whether you like it or not, he's writing that book. But, you know, he's dropping acid. He's talking to these guys and they're drinking. Like, he's taking all these, like, fucking nerdy political reporters and he's introducing them to a perspective that they're not aware of. They don't know anybody like that. Mm-hmm. And the book is fucking incredible. And
but when you see Gonzo, it's funny how much we're talking about Hunter S. Thompson, but when you see Gonzo, I don't know if it was in Gonzo or another documentary, you see how they're affected by it. You see a humanity in them because of him that you don't normally get to see.
Right.
Don't you agree?
Yes. Yeah. He made you question a lot of things.
Yeah.
And when people question things, they're like, what am I doing? Like, what?
Yeah, why am I here?
Yeah.
What is my purpose? Or did I have a purpose when I was young and I just fell into this political status quo?
And he even was questioning, like in the documentary, he was like, I don't even know what people want anymore. Do they want Hunter S. Thompson or they want Gonzo? Like, that's not even me anymore. It's I'm a prisoner of this thing that I've created.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that happens to people where they develop this sort of image and persona. Yeah. And then you feel like you're trapped by it. And people have expectations when they meet you.
Exactly right.
Kennison talked about that.
Did you know Kennison?
No, unfortunately. Did you?
I did.
No shit.
Yeah. And not because of drugs, just because I was around.
What year was this?
When did he die?
90-ish to 92 maybe. I was in New York, so it had to be pre-94.
Probably 90.
Somewhere around then.
I would say 90. I knew him. 90, 91. It was through a friend that I met him, and then he liked me.
Wow.
And sweet. Incredibly sweet guy.
He was a motherfucker, dude.
Motherfucker.
We just got this guy does bottle cap art.
Yeah.
Go to my Instagram, Jamie, and see that photo. This guy just made this insane bottle cap art piece of Kennison for my comedy club, and we put it up last night.
Is he a hero of yours?
Oh, yeah. He was one of the first. There it is.
Ow.
That's all bottle caps. That guy.
Oh,
made
no
that with.
shit.
Yeah, those are bottle caps. If you zoom in.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
That's like in prison when they use cigarette packs and do. Patricia Arquette gave me a piece of art. There was a bunch of cigarette packs put together.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they make frames. That was it.
Oh, wow.
Same kind of
Yeah,
thing.
this guy, his name is Jam Bottle Cap Art, JAM Bottle Cap Art. He does a bunch of different pieces with bottle cap art. Yeah, he's really good. It's really, really cool stuff.
You need my picture outside. I saw all your
mugshots.
Your mugshots.
I'd love to have a mugshot of you.
I'll send you.
Is
one.
it good? How fucked up do you look?
Pretty fucked up. I got a smile on my face. When somebody smiles during a mugshot, I always find that really funny.
So when you met Kennison, was it at a show? Was it just
no? Oh, it might have been the comedy club.
Okay.
I'd only been
Comedy
a few
Store,
times.
maybe?
Sorry, Comedy Store.
Well, he was out of there by then. He was out of there by 90.
Well, what's the one down the road by where Greenblatt's used to be?
Laugh Factory. Yeah. Yeah, you like those?
I do.
I love those
very
things.
much.
The Laugh Factory.
The Laugh Factory.
Yeah.
It might have been that.
Yeah, he got kicked out of the Comedy Store, I think, in like 87
No,
or
it would have
88.
been. Then it wasn't there.
Yeah, it was probably the Laugh Factory.
But that's not where I met him. I met him at a house.
Okay.
I met him at a house, and I never went to a lot of those parties. I was not part of that scene. I wasn't invited. But I met him, and he was really sweet, man. He would like mellow out. It wasn't like a thing. It wasn't an act all the time.
Right.
You know? And
but he was a prisoner to that thing that he became.
For sure.
Yeah. His brother wrote a great book. It's called Brother Sam. It's really, really good book describing like the ascent of his career and how it fucked him up and what happened to him.
And what do you think it was? I mean, was
drugs. Drugs and partying and just...
And stratospheric fame.
Yeah.
Wasn't it instantaneous for him?
Pretty quick. So... In 1986, he's on Rodney Dangerfield's Young Comedian special, and then he does an insane to this day holds up HBO Hour.
Yeah.
And then those two things, and then an album that he made called Louder Than Hell. And those things are the best things he ever does. Everything after that becomes like a significant drop off. And in the end, he was basically like a caricature of who he used to be.
Yeah, caricature of himself, exactly.
And he just was captured.
Yeah.
But it's also
Imprisoned.
there wasn't anybody to tell you how to do it back then. There was only a few like massively famous comedians back then. There wasn't a lot of us. It wasn't like today. Today there's like a giant community of comedians. We all talk to each other and figure it out together, and everybody's just about making better stuff.
Yeah.
It's not about like getting hugely famous. The ones that just want to get hugely famous, they're all mentally ill, and usually their career drops off, their comedy starts to suck. They're trying to do the wrong thing.
Yeah.
So in Kinison in the beginning, he just wanted to be the best he could be. He just wanted to be really fucking good at comedy, and coming from this, tent preacher.
Yeah.
So he's like this revival tent preacher, and then he gets into stand-up comedy, and he has this charisma and this ability to deliver that's so different than everybody else. Yeah. And he's this short, fat guy, so when he talks about being married and living in hell, like you kind of like empathize with him. Like, this fucking guy's amazing. Totally. And revolutionized comedy, changed comedy. He was the first guy that I ever saw that made me think I could do comedy. Because before then, I loved comedy. I always loved stand-up. But I loved it because it was funny. I would just like to watch, Jerry Seinfeld on TV. Oh, these guys are so funny.
Isn't that funny? Because you're so different than he is, and yet he was the one that you paralleled with that, like, liberated you?
Yeah, well, he was wild. That was the thing. I never felt like I fit in. I always felt like I didn't want to be around polite people. I didn't want, like, if a girl wanted me to go over her house and have dinner with her parents, I was like, oh, Jesus, they're going to think I'm fucking crazy. But I was a kickboxer. I was a kid who I went from, when I was 15 years old, I got like deeply involved in martial arts. My entire social life up until like 21, 22 was just traveling around the country fighting. And so I was feral. Like my mindset was just, just didn't fit in.
Yeah.
I couldn't wear a suit jacket and pretend to be the guy. Did you ever notice? I wasn't that guy.
Right. Hello, sir. It's great to meet you.
Things that I thought were funny, other people would think were fucked up. But my fucked up friends would think were funny. And those are the ones who talked me into doing stand-up. But they were equally fucked up.
Did you start stand-up back then?
In Boston, in 88.
In 88?
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah, and I went to
Early
see Kinison in 89. I got to see him live in 89. I got to see him 3 times. One time when I was working.
Wow. So
I was working at Great Woods Center for the Performing Arts, and he was performing there.
Wow.
And I got to see him live. I was a security guard. It was this place in Mansfield. Yeah, the whole Taekwondo team that I was a part of.
Is that what you did,
jobs.
Taekwondo?
Yeah.
That's what I used to compete in.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Where'd you compete out of?
Junchong,
Where was that?
L.A.
Okay.
Taekwondo.
Yeah. Yeah, I fought in L.A. when I lived in Boston. I fought in Anaheim in the Nationals.
Right on.
I traveled all over the country competing. That's all I did. And one of the guys who worked with us, one of the guys who trained with us, got a job as a security guard. And the guy was like, "Hey, do you know any more guys who know how to fight? Like, we need more guys like that to work for us." So they just hired a bunch of us.
Right.
And so we got to see all these crazy concerts. Like I got to see Bon Jovi. I got to see Bill Cosby, which was kind of crazy in retrospect. Yeah. I saw Rodney Dangerfield. And Rodney Dangerfield there was this backstage area. And Rodney Dangerfield was naked with a bathrobe on. And that's how he would go on stage. At the end of his career, like Rodney would go, and by the way, murdered. I mean, I was fucking
had people
crying, laughing.
Yeah.
He was probably, I don't know how old he was in 89, but he was old.
Yeah.
And this fucking guy was just on stage with a bathrobe on, naked. And
Killing
he had a
it.
giant hog was like hanging out of his fucking pants. And he was just hanging out, smoking pot, and then he would go on stage with a bathrobe on and just kill. But because he wanted to be comfortable.
How did other comedians feel about him?
Oh, they loved him.
Loved him.
Everybody loved
Rodney.
him. Rodney was one of the most universally loved comedians ever because he helped other comedians.
Yeah.
Like Rodney Dangerfield, he did these things, the Rodney Dangerfield specials, like Rodney and Friends. And so he would have he introduced the world to Dice Clay, Sam Kinison, Robert Schimmel, Lenny Clark, Dom Irrera, like some of the greats, and they all came out of his Rodney Dangerfield and Friends specials. They were some of the greatest specials ever because he would have all these guys that he thought were worth seeing, and he would put them out there to the world, and they all became superstars. I mean, that's how Sam Kinison launched. He launched from Rodney. And so Bill Hicks, a lot of people launched from Rodney, and so everybody loved Rodney. He was just loved.
I know he's your buddy, and because comedians, I used to have 6 albums, and one was a bloody red vinyl. Remember the red albums? You'd see a red album?
Sure, yeah.
And it was sick, and I don't know where I got them. I think I got them from like a flea market or something, but they were Lenny Bruce.
Oh, yeah.
And that was the beginning.
He was the first.
He was the first.
He was the first real modern stand-up comedian. Everybody else just told jokes. Like 2 guys walking to a bar, like that kind of shit.
Totally.
He was the first guy that was like, why do we do this? And why is that? And like, what is
Where
this?
he questioned it.
Yeah.
Questioned authority.
And people would come to see him because in the 60s, everybody was so confused as to how to think. Like, what are we doing? And this guy was like this.
And how do we treat each other? And then he'd literally point people out, and he'd go, Hebe and Kike, and there's a Mick, and people would go, what the fuck is he doing?
Right.
At the most tense time, and then he'd bring it around, and that's why it reminds me of Chappelle. Because Chappelle would get so seemingly or ostensibly inappropriate, and then somehow bring it around. And you go, fucking genius.
Dave's a master. And he's a real artist. That's a guy, like, I talk about like people that only start thinking about money. That's not him. That dude lives in fucking Springfield, Ohio, and just travels around and just does a lot of shows for no money. He does a lot of shows for no money. He just shows up and performs. One time I was in Denver, and I get off stage. It's second show Friday night. So it's 10 o'clock show. Show's over. I get off stage. I go into the green room. Dave's there. I go, Dave, what are you doing here, man? He goes, I thought I'd come out and visit you. Just hops on a fucking private jet and flies to Denver because he knew I was there. Didn't even tell me. Just shows up. And then I go, do you want to go on stage? He goes, oh, should I? I go, fuck yeah. So I ran out while the people were leaving. The show was already over. I go, tell everybody on the stairs, come back. Dave Chappelle's here. So they all come back in and sit down again. And he does like 45 minutes. And it was right around when Trump was when he got caught saying grab him by the pussy. So he had like 10 minutes about grab him by the pussy. Like, it was fucking genius. It was so good.
Off the top of his head, though?
Oh, no. I don't know exactly how Dave
designed
creates
it is.
Material. I think what Dave does is spends a lot of time thinking and listening to music and coming up with ideas. And he writes some stuff down, but a lot of what he does is just performs constantly. He's constantly on stage working these things out.
You said it earlier, artist. And
He's
that's
a
the
real
difference.
artist.
That's the difference between somebody who's just good at what they do and somebody who is an innate artist.
He's a real artist.
He's a hero of mine.
He's a hero of mine, too. He's a good friend. But he gets these giant deals with Netflix where he makes a lot of money, which is great, but he doesn't do it for money. He's doing it for
but what you can
art.
tell is he gets these like, he turned down $50 million, he went crazy, moved to Ohio, or whatever the fucking story is that you want to make up. But then he comes back, he makes these $20 million deals with Netflix, but it's never in place of his agenda.
No, it's all about the art. It's all about comedy.
About this wins. This is the priority.
That's why he left his show, because they were twisting it,
of course,
distorting it.
I know why he left his show, because I've been in that position where you go, this is turning into some corporate version of what you like. You love what I do. Now you can't wait to put your fingerprint on it.
Exactly.
That's it.
That's exactly what it was.
So you can go, that was me.
And he gave up $50 million when no one was giving up $50 million.
Nobody would fucking do that,
And then he quit doing comedy for 10 years. And you know what he would do? He would occasionally show up in a park with like a fucking speaker and just show up and do stand-up. Yes,
man.
he did. He did in Seattle. I know he did in Seattle because a friend of mine was at the show. Wow. He shows up. He goes, Dave Chappelle just shows up in this fucking park. And he gets a speaker with a microphone, and he just starts talking, and people just gather around.
Respect.
He was just doing these like shows, these impromptu shows. He would show up in a bar. Can I go on stage? And they would go, okay. And he would just start
knowing
talking.
in his mind that he would eventually come back. No, that was
know.
just the present moment.
I think
This
he's
is
just
what
being
I
an
wanna
artist.
do,
Just being an artist for the pure sake of being an artist. So he had the money that he did make off Chappelle's show, and he decided to like live frugally and take that money, and he didn't do anything for money for like 10 fucking years.
He just raised his kids.
And then he started coming back.
Yeah.
And then when he started coming back, I remember him coming around the Comedy Store again, and we had some conversations about it. And he just, he just decided to start doing comedy again. And then
You see people getting canceled now, and it's devastating to them, and yet that's what that was. He just did it himself.
Right.
He canceled himself.
Yeah. He
In
canceled the
best
greatest sketch show of all time.
of all time.
Yeah, and it only did 2 seasons. It's still the
But
greatest.
that's not something that you see very often. It's somebody who just fucking can't help but beat to their own drum.
right.
But the art wins in
Right.
the end.
The art wins.
Do you know
For
what I
him,
mean?
well, it's obviously when you see him, he's so good.
He's not malicious. He
No.
seems there are moments where you think he's malicious. And again, he brings it around.
Well,
in
the
end, and
maliciousness
you
is just to heighten the humor. It all just like brings it in. It also accentuates like some thoughts that you might have about whatever he's talking about.
But it's what everybody's thinking.
Yep.
And
exactly.
so fucking terrified to say. That's why
Everybody's thinking.
even me.
Yeah.
I'm watching it, and I'm the inappropriate guy. And my dad goes, "How the fuck do you say what you say?" And I don't understand. I go, I said, honestly, do you want to know? Because I'm not ultimately mean. I don't want to fucking hurt. I don't want people to feel less than I do.
Right.
But I watch Chappelle, and even me, I'm like, whoa, fuck. Wow.
Yeah. He walks that line. He gets out there and walks that line, but he dances around it and he makes it beautiful
I
comedy.
appreciate it so much because
Yeah.
without him, we're all fucked.
And he's the way to find out if a comedian's a cunt. Like, if a comedian doesn't like Chappelle, they start shitting on Chappelle, like, oh, okay.
Then you know he's a cunt.
You're a piece of shit. You're a piece of shit. You're just a garbage human.
Have you ever met anybody like that?
Yeah. A lot of these.
He's not a real comedian.
There's a lot
He's
of.
an asshole.
Yeah, there's a lot of like.
That's not comedy.
Activist comedians, and what they are is really not talented. So they've glommed on to this idea of like being like socially conscious, and that's more important than the humor itself. But nobody wants to hear you preach.
Yeah.
Nobody thinks that your opinion is better than theirs. This is what I always say. Like, if you go on stage, you have an opinion. Like, other people have an opinion too. Like, if you go on stage and say, I think Kamala Harris would be the greatest president of all time, a lot of people are like, well, I don't agree. But you have to have a way to make it funny so that they laugh. The people that disagree with you laugh. Like, I don't even think this guy's correct. But goddamn, that's funny. And that's a way you can introduce an idea into someone's head that maybe would never accept that idea. It was just opinions. So if someone's on stage and they're just saying opinions, like you could disagree with that opinion, it'll frustrate you, and you can't talk, you don't have your. But if that guy can take that opinion and that perspective and make it funny, then you're forced to acknowledge that he has a point.
Yeah.
Like, there's something in there. Like, I don't even agree with that, but fucker, goddamn, that was good. Goddamn, that was good. And that's the
It liberates, man.
Yes, that's the real Chappelle art. That's what
I
he
mean,
really
not that we'll
does.
stay on this forever, but remember Eddie Murphy when he did not Raw, but
Delirious.
Delirious.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, he was a fucking powerhouse, man.
Powerhouse.
To this day, that is the guy that I just wish I was friends. I was friends with his brother, Charlie.
Yeah.
But I wish that guy. I wish he would come back. I know he got like some weird stuff where he got arrested with transsexuals in his car and stuff. Like, whatever.
So did other people.
Whatever.
They came
He's just too good. He's too good. He's too good. Do you ever see when he gave a speech? He got like, I think it was like one of those Mark Twain awards or something like that, and he did stand up, like where he hasn't done stand up in forever. But he was talking about Bill Cosby having to give his awards back.
And no.
Yeah. Because he does an amazing Bill Cosby impression.
Yeah, no, I remember. Yeah.
And so he did stand up, and it was as sharp as ever. And like, goddamn, if this guy came back, he would.
And it was just off the cuff. It was something
I'm
that.
sure he prepared.
No, I'm sure he prepared, but nobody really knew he was going to do it, right?
Well, they knew he was going to give a speech,
Right.
And his speech was essentially stand up.
Was stand-up.
His acceptance speech,
like 20
was,
minutes or 15 minutes. To stand
Yeah,
up.
and it was fucking great. And there was all these rumors that he was going to start doing it again. I remember Charlie told me that Dave was thinking about doing it again, or that Eddie was thinking about doing it again, but he never did it. He never did it. I think it's just too heavy.
We need comedians. I mean, that's like the theme of this whole thing. It's whether you're talking about Hunter, whether you're talking about this. It's just too bad that they self-destruct, whether it be from drugs or fame or whatever. And you know what I mean?
It's hard, man.
It's
hard
really
to
hard.
maintain. And then once you make it, there's these weird pressures.
But it breaks up the status quo of this contraction, especially that we're feeling. I know that's why people move to Austin. It's just like, I'm fucking sick of being told to think a certain way.
Well, that's why comedy in Austin works so well.
Yeah.
Because we all moved here at the same time. We all moved here in 2020. Like I was here because, well, Ron White moved here first, and Ron White is a dear friend of mine, and he moved here before the pandemic. And Ron was like, I don't want to live in LA anymore. I fucking love it here. There's no traffic. Fucking food's great. Fucking people are nice. I can travel. I fly. I'm in the center of the country. I can fly anywhere real quick.
Right.
And I was like, damn, could I live in Texas? I'm like, I don't know about that. And then COVID came. And right away, like my wife was kind of interested a little bit, but then when the riots started happening in LA, then she got really scared. She got very like it was a lot of like home invasions. There was a lot of crazy shit that was happening.
Where's she from originally?
She was from Colorado.
Okay, so not an LA born.
No.
Yeah.
And so she lived in LA with me for a while, and we were happy.
Yeah.
You know, we lived in Bell Canyon, which is like outside of LA.
Yeah.
It's nice, peaceful, had a little land,
But you're
coyotes
still in LA.
and hawks and shit.
Yep.
Yeah, well, for me it was okay because I had quiet where I lived, and then I could drive into the Comedy Store.
Yeah.
And I loved it. But then when they shut the Comedy Store down, they shut everything down, and then the rise, and I was like, baby, they're not going to let us go back. This is like these fucking cocksuckers have control now, and that's what they like. That's why they became politicians in the first place. They like telling people they can't work. They have a grip on society, and they're going to fucking keep this grip. We got to get the fuck out of here.
So did you move sight unseen? Did you move Did you just come? Did you find a place, or did you came and you hung out for a while?
I came looking to see if I could deal with it. We took a few days off, and we flew to Austin with some friends who were also thinking about doing it.
Right.
None of them wound up moving here. A couple of them moved to Dallas. But we came here, and then one of the things that helped, my daughters were 10 and 12 at the time. They were real young, and they were real confused about what was going on in LA. It was spooky. You know, you had to wear a mask everywhere, and that freaks kids out. Like, it's freaky.
It had a
we came
major
to Texas,
impact on
no
kids.
masks.
Yeah.
You go to restaurants, and we had this great real estate lady, and she's a good friend now, and she took us to see, we wanted to see this house, and she took us on a ride on a boat. She had a friend to take us on the lake. We go on the lake, people are playing Leonard Skinner, they're jumping in the water, they're laughing and singing. And in LA, everybody's thinking like the world's going to end. There's demons in the air.
I was in New Mexico, and I was out on 100,000 acre ranch.
Whoa.
Right? And
Whoa.
we were doing Outer Range. We were doing the first season of our show, and we were tested every morning. And when I was out in the middle of nowhere, I mean with like good 15-mile-an-hour winds, you'd have somebody come up. If I put my mask down to talk, you'd have somebody go,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I'd be like, we're in the middle of nowhere.
Also, it doesn't even work.
It doesn't work.
It's stupid.
The mask, I'm not even saying that I have a certain belief system or anything, but in that moment.
Yeah. Provable that they don't work.
Provable.
Yeah. And people lost their fucking minds. And it was a stress test. And so we came out here. I bought a house like quick. And I was
Is
here.
it still the same house you have
Yep.
now? Really?
Yeah.
cool.
We looked at the house in May. I was living in it in August. And we were here. And then my kids started going to school out here. They loved it. I loved it right away. We were performing. And then we were doing shows inside where everybody's like, this is crazy. You guys are doing shows indoors. Because Texas didn't give a fuck. They're like, do shows. Like a couple months after COVID, they're like, open it up. And
So what are the numbers of people who got COVID? You know, I've never had COVID.
you never got it at all?
No, dude.
That's crazy.
I never got it. I don't know if that's a blood type. I don't know. What is that?
Maybe you're healthy.
Maybe I have it right now. I have a bit
Maybe you
of
have
a
it.
cold right now.
Maybe
Sorry,
you have it.
dude.
The new COVID is a joke. It's like,
Yeah, it's
we
nothing.
used to test every day. We used to, like, everybody that came in, because I wanted to be compliant. I wanted people to feel safe. People were flying out here to do podcasts. I wanted to make sure
You're
that
not
they're
a dick.
And so we tested everybody before every show. And one time I came in and I had the sniffles. And I was like, maybe it's COVID. Maybe it's COVID. And the nurse was like, actually, you have COVID. I was like, no way. I'm like, this
Like,
is the
this
new
is
COVID.
COVID?
But I had it once and like famously got in trouble for saying that I didn't get vaccinated, but I got healthy. And it was the CNN attacks and all that shit. And then the second time I got COVID, it was literally sniffles.
Yeah.
And it was gone in like a day or two.
So were the numbers different in Texas than anywhere else?
I don't know.
I'm
I
curious.
mean, the
if it
numbers
would
are
be.
all like the real people that got sick are the people with comorbidities. That was the real issue. What it exposed.
And it's not
is
that it didn't exist.
metabolic
It
health.
did, because I
Oh,
have a
yeah.
brother-in-law who was in New Orleans in the epicenter of it, and it was the beginning of his residency and all that. And he was like, "Oh, bro,
Oh, it fucking
I
existed.
mean, it was fucking gnarly."
Yeah, if you're really unhealthy, COVID fucked you up.
Fucked you up.
If you were really fat in particular, there was something about the way it reacted with
African
fat people.
Americans too. He said
That's
the
a vitamin
majority.
D thing.
That's a vitamin D thing.
Yeah, well, African Americans, the reason why they're so dark, the melanin is to protect them from the sun, and melanin in white people, the reason why they're so pale is because it acts as like a fucking solar panel for vitamin D.
a sponge,
so
right.
the melanin actually protects them from the sun's damage,
Right.
but it also makes it more difficult for them to get vitamin D. So my friend did his residency in New York, and he said during the wintertime, we would do blood panels on people, and they would have undetectable levels of vitamin D.
Wow.
And this is the reason why people get sick in the winter.
Yeah.
You're covering up. You're indoors most of the time. You're not getting any vitamin D. You're not getting any sun. If you're not supplementing, and not just with vitamin D, by the way, you have to mix vitamin D with K2 and magnesium.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most effective way for your body to process it. If you're not doing that, your immune system is shit.
It's not that you're not a living petri dish and you're giving each other the thing, because you would do that in the summer too. But the minute you go outside and you get that vitamin D and you get that sun, it's burning it away.
Yeah, well, you're out in the
It's
sun.
protecting you.
You're
It's-
healthier.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be outside.
Yeah.
We're not designed to be
Not
locked
designed
up
to stay
in
in a
fucking
cave.
cubicles and
Right.
and fluorescent lights all day. It's not normal.
Yeah.
So it's not healthy. And if you don't do something to mitigate that and to counteract that, your metabolic health is going to suffer. If you're not fit, if you're not healthy, if you're overweight, if you're not eating well, if you're not taking vitamins, all those things are a huge factor that was completely ignored. And the narrative was like, no, you need this novel injection that we haven't tested on anybody. We're going to fucking shoot it in every baby, every kid, every pregnant woman.
Did you ever take one?
No. I almost did. I didn't think it was a bad thing. Like this whole pandemic is, through education and talking to doctors and also through my experiences, it completely changed my concept and my thought about the medical system. When the vaccine was first available, I was more than willing to get it. In fact, the UFC allocated like 150 vaccines for all their employees, and we were doing these COVID shows where there was no audience. So we would do it at the Apex in Vegas, where the UFC has their own small arena, and we'd have the fights there, and you'd go and get tested. I'd get tested in Austin. I'd fly to Vegas, and then they'd test me again, and you weren't supposed to go anywhere. You just stayed in your hotel, and then you showed up and did the fights. And then they got the allocations to the vaccine, and I called up the doctor, and I said, hey, I'm here for the fights. Can I get vaccinated? They said, sure, come on in. And then when I got there, I called the doctor and said, actually, you have to go to the clinic. We have to do it at the clinic. Can you go on Monday? And I said, I can't. I have to go back to Austin, but I'll be back in 2 weeks for the next fights, and we'll do it then. And he said, great. In that 2 weeks, they pulled the vaccine because people were getting blood clots. And then also during that 2 weeks, 2 people that I knew had strokes. Wow. Like one guy was in his 50s and one guy was in his 40s.
Immediately following the vaccination?
Within days of the vaccine,
days.
got strokes. And I had a bunch of friends that had complications. One friend who has a pacemaker. I have a second friend now that has a pacemaker. And there was all these things that just kept happening.
Pacemaker that they'll have for the rest of their lives?
I don't know. It depends on whether or not your heart heals, like how bad the damage is.
Right.
But his heart would stop beating for like 9 seconds at a time.
Wow, man.
And he would just faint, and he was falling down.
Right.
And Dr. Drews talked about this. He believes that's what happened to a lot of people that got boosted. A lot of people, like after the booster, like there's something that would happen where your heart would just stop beating for a while, and you'd black out, and then it would start up again, and it.
Because it wasn't proven. It wasn't a proven thing. But
They're-
then again,
they're
how many of
fucking-
them are proven? Because, you
Right.
know, that's what you said, 72, 73 shots?
Yeah,
for
well, that's a
kids?
different kind of vaccine.
No, but
This
I
was
understand that. But there's still
Yeah.
vaccines.
Yes.
And you go, why so much more now? Is there
It's
that
money.
much more
No,
disease? It's money.
I think it's
all
money.
based in money.
I mean, I'm not an anti-vaccine person, but like I subscribe to Robert F. Kennedy's perspective. Like they should all be tested. They should be safety tested, and they're not. You know,
But it
and-
comes down to this thing, like we were talking about working out. It comes down to this thing where you go, listen, the medical community I can use
Yeah.
for certain things. The holistic community I can use for certain things. Why do I have to deny
Right.
one just to be full in on the other?
Right. Exactly. Well,
know
it's
what I
just
mean?
a narrative that they put out there that medicine and pharmaceutical drugs are the most important thing, and everything else is bullshit.
Everybody should take Oxycontin. I mean, everybody should be on
Yeah, it's
at
the
least
Zachary
10
family.
Oxycontin
Yeah,
a day.
help you feel better. You'll
Yeah.
feel better. Just like, oh, I feel
Life is-
better.
Yeah, and you don't have to
Good.
do anything.
It's
You don't have to
helping
feel
you.
bad about it.
So when we came here, that was the thing, was like everybody who came here was kind of like, fuck this.
Hmm.
And then there were so many of us that Ron talked me into opening up a comedy club. I remember
You
Ron,
opened your own.
Yeah, Ron went on stage like for the first time in like months, like I think it was 8 months. And he grabbed me by the shoulders, like right after he fucking crushed. He goes on stage, there's this giant standing ovation. He crushes, and he comes off stage. He grabs me by my shoulder. He goes, whatever the fuck we have to do, we're going to keep doing this. He goes, you got to open up a club. I go, okay, I'm going to open up a club.
Yes, sir.
And
Yes,
then I
sir.
just started looking at club spots.
How often do you do it?
Almost, every week. But
Every week
multiple-
you're
I went on
up
last
there.
night 3 times. I did 3 sets last night.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm
That's
constantly
cool.
working. Yeah.
Do you know Robert Rodriguez?
The director?
Yeah.
No, I don't know him personally. I'm
That
aware of him,
surprises me. Yeah. That's who I'm doing. I'm at the Paramount Theater tonight.
I love that guy.
Yeah, I love him.
Yeah.
I've known him for 30 years.
Oh, I'd love to meet him.
Yeah.
But no, I love his work though.
Yeah, super good guy.
Yeah.
And he plays at Antoine's a lot.
Oh yeah, Anton's. Yeah.
Anton's. That's
Yeah,
what it is.
yeah. That's
Which is
Gary
still there,
Clark
right?
Jr.'s place.
Is it?
Yes, my friend Gary.
I didn't know it.
Yeah,
So
I'm good
my
friends with
wife
Gary.
knows Gary's wife really well.
Oh, my wife knows Gary's wife really
Oh
well.
shit, dude! I met somebody on the plane who sat next to me. So I flew
Yes,
from New York.
they sent a picture to my wife. Of
No.
you. Yes.
Wait,
Today.
wait. Bentley?
I don't know the guy's name. I don't know the guy.
No. The guy that I met on the plane today,
Right.
he said, "What are you here doing?" I said, "Oh, I'm going to see Rogan this afternoon. I'm doing Paramount Theater tonight." And he said, "Oh, that's so funny." And he didn't talk to me the whole flight. And he said, "My son Bentley went out with Rosie."
Yes, that's
For
what
a
it is.
year.
Yes, that's what it is. So he sent a photograph to my wife. Yeah.
Because I took a photograph
Yeah,
with him
so
that
I
he
saw
sent
it
to his
today,
wife.
right when I was leaving. My wife shows me the
That's
photograph.
fucking funny.
It's crazy.
That's crazy.
Small world.
Really
yeah.
small world.
Super, super small world.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah,
cool.
Gary's wife and my wife are good friends.
Yeah.
So
I've never
like,
met Gary.
Oh, he's
but
the best.
Man, I love him.
He's the best.
I mean,
That's
talk
another
about real,
artist.
A true artist.
That's an artist. I mean, he's an artist.
Another true artist. I was just with him. I did his video. I was asked to do a lot of videos, and I've never done a video because I've never wanted to do a video. The idea of doing video seems weird to me. You're like, singing somebody else's song or something like that. But Chris Stapleton, who's been a
Oh, I
friend for a
love that
long
guy.
time, so we were in
He's been on the
Marfa
podcast.
together. Has he?
Yeah. I love that
One
guy.
of the greatest fucking guys. He and Morgan, one of the greatest people. So yeah, we were together over the weekend in Marfa, Texas.
Oh, that's fucking cool.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. And Gary's another guy that I knew back in L.A. I met Gary at the Comedy Store.
Doesn't
and
he
then-
still live in L.A.?
No, he lives here.
Oh, he does
Yep.
full time.
Yep, and that's the same thing. Like when I talked to Gary about it, I go, why'd you move to Texas? And this was back when I was still living in L.A. He goes, man, fuck that.
Right.
Fuck that place. Fuck everything about that place. I don't like
I
it.
told you,
I don't
we
feel
just
good
moved
there.
out of. We haven't moved to Austin. I've spent a lot of time here. I love it here. My mom's from Corpus Christi. I've spent a lot of time in Texas. I'm going to eat Whataburger while I'm here. But we moved to Santa Barbara recently, and it's one of those things. It's just like there's the thing about LA when you don't need, because you can do so many things remotely, and you go, why am I here?
Right. Why am I here?
Like I embraced this staunch thing of I'm a Californian, and I
Yeah.
loved going to New York and seeing how proud people were in New York. And I'd go back to
Yeah.
California and I'd say, I want to be the one proud person that's in California.
There was proud people in L.A. for a while.
There were.
We were all
for a
proud that
while.
we were L.A. comics.
Yeah.
L.A. comics were like a different thing than New York comics.
Right.
Because New York comics were all like for themselves. They were all kind of shitty and backstabby. And at the Comedy Store, we had a real community. There was like,
And that's the best thing. And what you've done is
the hang.
recreate it. Like even when I
Exactly.
talk about a chopper community, that's what it is. It's a
Yes.
community that you can rely on.
Yes.
Regardless of belief system or anything like that. You go, but that guy has my back.
Yes.
That guy will
yes.
walk through fire for me.
Yes.
That guy wants me to do well.
That's your people.
That's my people.
Yeah.
And that's
And
the
so
same thing with
all
that.
my people moved out here. They
Right.
moved out here with me.
So
So we had
therefore
like
you-
16 top shelf comedians move out here in the
Wow.
first 2 years.
That many?
There's so many clubs out here. There's 5 clubs on the street where my club's on.
That's crazy.
I bought the old Ritz Theater.
Yeah.
So that's the comedy mothership now.
yeah,
and
yeah.
down the street, there's a Sunset Club that my friend Brian owns. And that's a club that's like 5 doors down from me.
So all these
And
are
then
new
there's-
clubs that's happened in the last 4 years.
The Vulcan was already there. That was the club that we started working at when we came here. That's down the street from me. That's only like a block away. And then there's the Creek in the Cave, another comedy club that's only like 2 blocks away. There's a bunch of them just on this one street.
What
and
if I
there's
move here and
so
open a
many
club and just do
comics.
monologues? Do you think people will come?
Sure.
Different.
probably-
like
if it's
this
good.
one- ladies and gentlemen, this one's from Sicario.
If it's good, people would go. They might.
They might.
You look, man. You really have a.
This is the
passion
weird
for something.
artsy city,
It's
which
a great
I love.
artsy city.
It is.
It is. There's a lot of fake artists. Or
I know
just
there, but there
cunts.
is everywhere.
Yeah, there's a lot of posers,
Yeah.
but that's all people that just like the idea of them being the one who decides what's real and what's not real.
Yeah.
Just goofs. You're always going to have that. There's a lot of that they hated us when we came here. But really what they didn't like is that you couldn't just fuck around anymore. The real killers were here now.
Yeah.
The real top shelf, like national headliners, guys like Tom Segura and Tim Dillon and these animals moved into town.
So this is like a new hub.
It's the hub of the world for comedy. The Comedy Mothership is the hub of comedy in the world.
That's wild.
Yeah, and
I
it
didn't know that.
just opened 2 years ago.
That's
But
cool.
it's packed every night. It's awesome. Like Dave came down like opening week. It was incredible, and no one knew he was there. So I did a set, and then after I did a set, I introduced him, and everybody just went fucking apeshit.
Yeah.
And we were like, it's up. Like the club's rolling now.
This is
Now,
it.
now it's really happening. And then
Yeah.
all these people were coming in from all over the country, and a bunch of people moved here. And there's people moving here constantly. Shane Gillis moved here, and all these guys moved here.
So
And
it's
they just-
still happening.
Oh yeah, it's
People are
still
coming,
growing,
migrating in
We're
droves.
talking about opening up another club because
Wow.
we're so packed every night, and we have so many comics.
Yeah.
We almost have too many comics and not enough room.
Has the place grown a lot in the last 4 years? I
The
mean,
city?
other than people,
Oh,
but you see
yeah.
it, gentrification of it, or just like things that you go, no.
You see a lot of tech bros have moved here because Google moved here and Facebook and
I remember when Jesse
Tesla.
James moved here, which was a while ago.
he moved here a long time ago.
Long
right?
time ago.
Yeah,
But I remember when he moved from Long Beach.
yeah.
And he called me and he was like, it's fucking great here.
It's fucking great. It's better.
Yeah.
I just never will live in a place that has traffic ever again. I'll never live in a big city. Austin's like 1 million people. There's
Yeah,
a
that's
million
it.
on the outside and 1 million in the city. It's nothing.
Yeah.
It's easy. It's easy to get around. People are friendly. They're just like real people. There's no one here that's like connected to that machine that forced compliance.
Why do you think that feeds into your art? Like, to me, being in LA, when everybody's talking about what's your status right now?
Ugh.
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 The
What's
thing
your
about here
status?
is all people care about is, are you killing? Are you going on stage and fucking killing?
Yeah.
Are you doing your best work?
Are you doing it? Period.
Yeah,
Are you doing your
doing
best
it?
work? Like, do you care?
Yes.
Do you
do
give a
really
shit?
care? Are you really working on it? Are you
Are
really?
you just
and-
another affectation?
Yeah. And if you're at that club, you have to be working on it because there's too many people that are working on it.
Yeah.
There's too many You can't just be lazy.
Yeah.
You won't survive. There's too many killers.
I want to go to this club.
Anytime.
Yeah.
Go tonight.
Cool.
If you want to come tonight.
Well, I got this thing to do.
When's
tonight.
your thing? What time is it?
I don't know. 8? 7?
We have a 7 o'clock show and a 10 o'clock show.
Really? Maybe
Yeah.
I'll come afterwards.
Come after, come hang out. Jelly Roll was there last night. We had a
Really?
good
Was he
time.
really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Jelly Roll's the man. He's here all the time. He's always hanging out here.
Do you have my book?
I do not.
You don't?
No, I do not. No one sent it to me. If they did, it
Fuck.
probably went to a publicist or someone.
I was going to bring a book for you.
I'll buy it. Josh Brolin from under the truck.
Hunter S.
Why from under the
Thompson's-
truck?
What do you think?
Because that's where you were drunk, passed out?
That's where my mom's boyfriend was drunk and passed out. But it has this, to me, I chose it because it has a double entendre that when you're under a truck, you're either fixing it or getting run over by it. Hence my life.
Ooh.
I'm either getting run over by it or fixing it.
How did you sort it out? Because you're so together now.
Am
you know?
I?
Yeah, I think you are.
Thank you.
You're fun.
Thanks, man. So
Fun
are
people
you.
are together. If you can be fun, you're together.
I think I'm at that place. I found a place that you have always been at that I didn't have. I had the opposite, where you go, no, I didn't do cocaine because, and forget the drugs, it's the mentality. I didn't do cocaine because it would kill me. And I would go, oh, that stuff will kill you?
Yeah.
Let's just walk that line. I always wanted to walk that line. And I had a mother that walked that line. The book is very mother heavy. Very, very mother heavy. And it wasn't intended to be. It just turned out that be. That's why I wanted to, I wish I had a book.
No worries.
I wanted to read you a section of the LSD, 13-year-old LSD thing. Because it's fun. Yeah, it's juicy.
Yeah.
You like juicy stuff.
I do.
And I want to read you juicy stuff.
13 LSD is so wild. That's such a crazy, mind-blowing experience for a 13-year-old to have.
Yeah. Can you imagine? Because you look at, I mean, I had kids. When I had my first kid, I was 20 years old. And I was looking at 14 years in prison.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So,
Jesus Christ.
So that's why I missed my shot out there. I was surprised. It's Johnny Cash.
We'll get it.
There's
We're going to order it.
There's Brolin.
Find Josh Brolin's.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
gonna
See
get
if
it
it's in
printed
there.
out.
I think there's a couple.
Get a big
I
mental
think
print of
there's
it.
a couple. Not
a
that
metal
I'm proud
print
of it, but
well, it's part of your life, and it's why you're you today, because you've gone through shitty experiences.
yeah, but I don't know if they're shitty. That's what I haven't decided whether they're shitty or whether they're necessary for this person to get to this place. And not everybody gets to that place. So we're talking about all these people like Hunter S. Thompson. Hunter S. Thompson is my mother, man. She wasn't a good writer. But everything that the song,
Right.
that was my mom. My mom had a loaded 9mm at her bedside table all
Jesus.
the time. She was part of what was the scam that went on in the 80s, the pyramid scam.
Oh.
Remember that? She was
Yeah.
one of the top 5 winners of the pyramid
Oh,
scam.
boy.
She could talk anybody into anything. So she would come home literally, man, with grocery bags full of cash.
Wow.
And she'd dump it out and she'd say, count.
Jesus.
So I would sit there and I would
Wow.
count, you know what I mean? And she'd put them, and I finally found, I think she had hidden some in her dresser, and there was like a loose board that she took away and put money in there, and I found it and bought some drums.
When my grandmother died, we found stuff like that in her house because my grandmother went through the Depression.
Oh, yeah.
And so
That
everybody
mentality.
they all like stockpiled money. So she had coffee cans filled with money that she had like tucked away in like different areas of the house that we found after she died.
Right. It's
Yeah.
kind of great.
Yeah.
The mentality of like.
Yeah, well, the mentality you grow up where you literally might starve to death. There's no
And
food.
there's no way that can't affect you, and that's the whole point.
No
There's
way.
no way that somebody can have that mentality of every cent means something.
Right.
And we have to hide it unless somebody else takes it or whatever. With my mother, it was always looking for the most vivid experience. And I don't know why that was. Her parents weren't like that. It's just how she was.
How she was
And then you
wired.
either have my brother. I don't know if you have siblings or not, but my brother dealt with it totally different. My brother imploded. And so he lives his life as simply as you can possibly live it. Whereas me, my reaction was
The other
okay.
way.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
So how now and why? I don't know. 45 years old. I think it feels like a good age to go. Okay, do I want to go Nick Nolte or do I want to go?
Right.
And I can do that easy. You know.
Nick used to date Vicki Lewis, who was
I
on
know
News
Vicki.
Radio with me. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I remember Vicki well.
Super talented.
Super talented.
Yeah, could sing, could act. She was a firebrand.
Yeah.
And Nick, we used to hang around the set, and it was always so weird to me to be talking to Nick Nolte. It was so strange.
Yeah.
And I remember one time I went to Fry's Electronics because I was going to buy some. I used to make my own computers.
Yeah.
Because I was like really into like computer games,
Electronics
so I'd
and all
like
that, yeah.
build my own computers.
Yeah.
And so I'm there like looking at motherships, and I see this fucking old guy with his glasses on, and I go, Nick goes, "Oh, hey, Joe, how are you, man? Do you know anything about these things?" And like I was talking to him about like computer stuff, but I just couldn't believe he knows my name, that he remembered me.
He saved my life, man. He saved my life at 25.
Bro, there's a terrible movie called Warrior. It's a terrible movie. Terrible movie.
You
But
mean the UFC movie with Tom
that movie
Hardy?
sucks.
And
that movie
yeah,
sucks.
Yeah,
But
okay.
he's fucking incredible in it.
He's amazing.
This one scene when
Yeah.
he breaks down, he's the dad. It's so
I know it well.
fucking good. It's so good. That one scene is worth sitting through the entire preposterous movie.
Yeah. Why do you hate that movie so much?
Because it's fake.
Yeah.
You can't fight like 2 days in a row.
Wasn't the Tyson Jake fight? Wasn't that amazing?
Yeah. It's amazing they got paid so much money for that.
25 million and 40 million?
I think 20 and 40. Yeah,
20 and
I think that's
40.
what I'd heard. You know, which I'm happy Mike got the money, and I'm happy that he didn't get hurt. That was my fear, that it was going to be a real fight and he was going to get hurt.
You've known him for a long time. I've known him for a long time.
I love that dude.
Me too.
And he was a larger than life figure in my childhood.
Truly, me
when I
too.
was a kid, when he was the champ, it was like people don't understand what a champ he was. Like
Yeah.
he wasn't just the heavyweight champion of the world. He was an executioner. Like
Truly.
every fight was just a matter
I don't
of how
remember
long was it going to
which
last.
fight it was that I went to go see a couple of fights, and I actually went to go see Julio Cesar Chavez fight, and that's when I met Tyson in the green room, and I met at the same time Muhammad Ali in the green room.
Oh wow!
That was a moment.
Wow.
As a boxing fan,
That's
that was
a
a
heavy
real
moment.
moment. But I remember, and I don't know who it was, and I think it was a 90-second fight, and I went to go see this fight, and Tyson was fighting, and this guy was doing this stuff and he had he had built himself into confidence. And Mike came out afterwards. He was the first one, obviously. And Mike came out afterwards, and I watched his face. I didn't watch Mike. You would normally watch Mike because he's so charismatic, and he's coming. You want to see what he's going to do. And I watched the guy's face, and I watched that confidence bleed from his face instantaneously.
Yeah.
He had absolutely lost the fight long before Mike had ever gotten in the ring.
Yeah, I maintain that in the time where he was champion, like the 2 or 3 years where he was at his best, he's the greatest fighter of all time.
Of all time.
Of all time.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody...
That's why it was so interesting to me as I was watching it, and I'm very verbal when it comes to that shit. Come on! What the fuck? You know what I mean? And he's still quick.
Oh, yeah.
He's still quick.
He's still very quick.
And he would do
But, you know,
these
Mike
things.
had, he was walking with a cane just like a year and a half ago.
Yeah, but he was really out
He
of
had
shape.
bad sciatica.
Bad sciatica.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, real bad. You know, it wasn't that long ago that he was, you know, I mean, when I first met him, he was very, very heavy. He was not working out at all. And I asked him, how come you don't work out? He goes, I don't want to ignite my ego.
That's
He
what he
goes,
said.
I don't want to ignite the gods of war.
The gods of war. Yeah.
And then the second time he came in was when he was preparing for the Roy Jones Jr. fight.
Came in here?
Yeah, and he was a totally different human being. He was fucking jacked and in shape, and he looked super intense.
Yeah.
And he was just like ready to go, and it was terrifying. It was like, and Jamie,
Wait, when was this?
a few years ago, 4 years ago, 4 years ago. And so when he came in the second time, I was like, Jamie said it afterwards. He's like, this is a totally different human being than the first time we saw him. He was one of the first guys, like I said, with Nick Nolte. He was like, is that really Nick Nolte? This is crazy.
Yeah.
Can't believe he's right there. Mike Tyson was one of the first people that I met, though. I can't believe he's really here. Because just like, he was
Bigger than
so
life.
iconic. Like, you had to be alive and be a kid during the time where he was the champion to understand what he was. Because there was... After Muhammad Ali, Larry Holmes, who was a great fighter, but no one liked him because he beat up Muhammad Ali. So people always just wanted him to lose.
Yeah, but is that the only reason? There's just a certain air of somebody, and they come along once in a great while.
Yes, but Larry Holmes never got his due.
Yeah.
He was an amazing fighter.
Amazing fighter, but still.
But when he retired, then there was just like a series of boring champions. Like no one cared about the heavyweight division at all.
Yeah.
No one cared.
Yeah.
And
I
then
remember.
the cover of Sports Illustrated, I have it framed in my office at home. It said Kid Dynamite on it. And he was 19 years old. And I was like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
And then I started watching him fight. And then he was fighting on like ABC Wide World of Sports. You're like, Jesus Christ.
Do you find yourself going back and watching highlights just to do it?
Oh, yeah.
I do it all
watch
the
Tyson
time.
fights all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just watched this fight with Frank Bruno just a couple of days ago.
Frank Bruno.
Oh, my God. Tyson was something I just don't think you can maintain that. You can
the
only do that for a
fights
few
that
years.
never worked out with do you remember the fight with him and Bone Crusher Smith?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Not a great fight.
No, wasn't the best
Because
fight.
Bone Crusher Smith was not a great fighter.
Well, he was a good fighter. He's just
but not a great
tough
fighter.
guy.
Yeah.
But, brutal knockout puncher. It just wasn't at Mike's level.
Yeah.
Mike was at a level that no one was at. It was an insane combination of discipline, talent, incredible coaching, psychology.
Yeah.
When he was 13 years old, he was adopted by a guy,
No, I know.
who was a
Customato.
hypnotist.
Oh, I know.
Cuss used to hypnotize him.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he hypnotized him by the time he was 13. And he...
Into being the greatest
into
fighter?
being the greatest fighter.
Wow.
And he told him, you don't exist. Only the task exists. And the task was just
Did Mike
destruction.
tell you that?
Yeah. Yeah.
I've never heard him say that.
Yeah,
Does he say that to other people?
Oh yeah, he said it publicly. He's
I've never
talked
said
about
it.
it. Yeah, he talked about
I mean,
the
I've never heard
hypnosis. The hypnosis. He started doing it when he was 13 years old.
So what's the parallel between, and this is the last thing I'll interview you about, what's the thing between Tyson and John Jones, who I met once, and I looked at him when I met him on a plane, and he didn't give me really the time of day, but I was like, I'm a huge fan, and I don't say that often to a lot of people.
He probably gets that all day long, you
I'm
know?
sure he does, man. There's no doubt. Special fighter.
It's conquerors. That's what it is. Like, they're both conquerors. Like, I had this thing that I put up on my Instagram the other day that somebody made. It was me talking about trying to explain why John exists. That there's people that are just different. They're wired different, and they are uncommon amongst uncommon men. They rise to the top of the top.
They're
and
the Black
they just
Op of their
dominate. Profession. They just dominate, and that's John. He's just the greatest of all time.
It's exciting.
He's
to watch.
37 years old, and he's still the greatest.
I mean,
that's
watching that fight, watching Tyson or Jake Paul or whatever. Jake Paul, I wouldn't even want to say Tyson, and then going the next day and watching that fight.
Yeah.
Watching those fights. It wasn't the only fight. The one before was what was his name? The fight before John Jones.
Oh, Charles Oliveira and Michael Chandler. Yeah, incredible
fight.
Incredible fight.
Amazing fight.
Yeah. Yeah, John he's a special dude. When he's gone, we're all going to miss him. It's a different kind of. I mean, he's been at the top for 14 fucking years. He won the title as the youngest guy to ever win a UFC title, 23.
23.
And Mike was the youngest heavyweight champion of all time at 20, which is really crazy.
Crazy.
But when John Jones won that title at 23, it's just been destruction of everyone ever since. Never ducked anybody, fought all the best, destroyed everybody, dominated his division, went up to heavyweight, dominates at heavyweight.
So why does somebody like that self-destruct? Is that a self-destruction?
Because he's a wild motherfucker. That's how you get to be that good.
Isn't that what we're talking about the whole time? Is we're talking like whether it's Hunter S. Thompson and this, and how you walk that line. Mike Tyson spending whatever $350, $400 million, going to jail, whatever that is.
Wild. But that's also what makes you so good, that wildness. John Jones, when he fought Mauricio Shogun Rua for the light heavyweight title when he was 23 years old, he opens up the fight with a flying knee. Nobody does that. You're fighting a legend. Shogun, at that time, when he was the light heavyweight champion, he was a legend.
Yeah.
And not just a legend from the UFC, but a legend from Pride.
Yeah.
Pride was this gigantic organization in Japan that Shogun really became famous.
Yeah.
So he was like a mythical creature almost in MMA circles. That was Shogun Rua. He was a
Conor
beast.
McGregor and John Jones.
John's in a different category.
It's a different thing.
Yeah, Conor self-destructed, in a lot of ways because of money. I mean, he took that fight with Floyd Mayweather, he made a ton of money off that, and then took a long time before he came back to MMA, and it's just not been the same guy since. And I think that's just, it's money, it's a lot of partying, but it's the same kind of thing. It's just a wild, but in his prime, when Conor was in his prime, he was fucking assassin.
Amazing.
He was a fucking assassin.
But it's that thing, that through line of not being able to let go. It's like what you were talking about Chappelle. Chappelle leaves for 10 years, but then he goes to the park and he does a thing. There's a thing that's insatiable, that warrior mentality.
Yeah, but there's a difference because physically you can only fight for so long.
Yeah, that's true.
Comedy, you get better every year.
Yeah,
if you keep doing, Dave's better now than he was a year ago. He'll be better 2 years from now.
You can still be
than he is now.
Rodney Dangerfield eventually.
Right. Rodney Dangerfield, when I saw him, he was probably 70 years old and he was murdering in his fucking bathrobe, naked.
With this schlong hanging out.
Yeah, he was still amazing because
crazy.
It's not a physical thing. You don't have your body can only compete at the highest levels for so long, which is one of the things that's so extraordinary about John.
Yeah.
Because he's 37, he still competes at the highest level.
It blew my mind the other night.
Well,
it was exciting. It was
Steve
nice to be excited about something.
Steve A's past his prime, unfortunately, and he's got a lot of wear on the tires, and it was kind of rough watching him get beat up like that.
Yeah.
But that's the game they play. That's the sport.
Yeah, and what's great about UFC that I never thought would last in the beginning, the great thing is anything can happen.
Anything can happen. Yeah.
Anytime.
Frank Fertitta and Lorenzo Fertitta always said that every fight, every UFC, we sell holy shit moments. That's what he said.
That's it.
Like there's moments in the fight where you're like, holy shit. You look around at each other and everybody
Dude, nobody does it better than you when you do this. You go back and you go, oh! God, your eyes are
We
this big.
always did that, but then they started putting cameras on us.
Right.
And I don't know why, when
You
they
and
started doing
Cormier?
that. Yeah, we
Yeah.
always did that. Every time something would happen, we would throw
Because
our,
it's organic.
Yes.
It's like you can't help it. That's what I'm doing at home.
Yeah.
Holy fuck.
Holy shit. Yeah, holy shit.
Holy shit.
Yeah, there's moments where you just like,
Yeah.
you can't believe it's really happening.
Yeah.
That's the sport. The sport it's the craziest sport. It's the highest consequences of any sport. It's just, it's so raw and dangerous, and you can't look away. It's so crazy. And when someone can dominate it, like John Jones or George St. Pierre or Mighty Mouse or any of the greats,
George St. Pierre, another great one.
greats.
Yeah.
When they can do that, it's like that's a different kind of human being. It says, I mean, to be the best of the best people in the world at fighting, and he's the best of the best people.
Yeah.
And when George was in his prime, it was that same sort of thing. You would see him stand there, like this intense look in his eyes, just couldn't wait to get his fucking hands on that
you.
guy. And you're like, God damn. I feel very, 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 very fortunate that I've been able to witness personally so many of those moments.
Yeah.
And be there to watch greatness so many times.
I think it's great that you've continued. It's surprising to me. That
I
you've
love it.
I know you do, and that's why you continue to do it.
Well, I did the first 13 of them for free.
First 13 ever?
Yeah, the first thing I did. It was like UFC 37.
Oh, when you got into
I started working at UFC 12.
Yeah.
I did UFC 12 was the first event that I did in 1997. I was the post-fight interview guy.
Wow.
And so I did that for a couple of years, but it was banned from cable. It was basically like
That's why I said it was going. It
Yeah.
kind of went like this, and then it was going down.
boxing did it to them. Boxing in cahoots with Budweiser, which is funny because now Bud White sponsors the UFC.
Right.
But they all wanted the MMA thing to go away because it was so exciting and crazy.
Yeah.
They thought of it as a threat.
Yeah.
And they essentially banished it. It also just had this unsavory look to it. You're fighting in a cage.
Yeah.
Back in those days, it was bare knuckle.
Bare knuckle.
And then
It was bloody. It was,
it was just crazy. It was like they would call it human cockfighting.
Yeah.
Which I always found was just disgusting. But me as a martial artist, the question was always, what would happen if you got a judo guy and he fought a wrestler? What would happen if you got a boxer and he fought a karate guy? And the UFC was like, let's find out.
Yeah.
So Jorge and Gracie came up with this concept.
That's what I was going to say. Gracie was one of the first judo versus jiu-jitsu, right?
Well, Hoyce, and
Hoyce,
Hoyce was the first champion of
Right.
the UFC, and he was the first guy that introduced that technique is more important than everything.
Right.
Technique is more important than being big, more important than being strong, because Hoyce was like 175 pounds. He was very slight and long, and
remember
just
the fight.
Just a jiu-jitsu wizard.
Yeah.
And he would get guys on the ground and strangle the fuck out of them. And we were like, "What happened?
happened?"
This is crazy."
That's
See this
another
big
holy
jack
shit
guy,
moment.
and all
Yeah.
of a sudden the big jack guy's tapping. You're like, "What? What happened?"
Right.
And Hoyce just opened up the world to Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and it made Brazilian jiu-jitsu like the most popular martial art on earth.
yeah.
Like his appearances in the UFC changed the entire course of martial arts. His family, the Gracie family, particularly his father Elio, his brother Hickson,
Yeah.
his brother Hoyler, and Horian, of course, because he created the UFC. They changed martial arts forever.
Yeah.
That more development and evolution of martial arts has taken place over the last 30 years than over the last 30,000 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Like really, that's accurate.
Yeah.
Like fighting is different. People really understand what works and what doesn't work now.
And watching him was balletic. It was like a ballet.
Yes.
It was like
It's
wasn't.
art.
It was art.
It's
it
real
wasn't
martial
just,
arts. No.
It wasn't that.
His dad told him, "Don't hurt these people. Don't hurt them. You don't have to hurt them. Show them the art.
just submit them.
Show them the art." Yeah.
Right.
So like Hoyce, when he got on top of people, he wasn't like elbowing them in the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
eyeballs.
Yeah,
He was just
exactly.
strangling folks, just armbarring folks, making them tap, making them quit. And he
wild.
did it to everybody, and they were all like, "What the fuck just happened?" And then everybody had to learn jiu-jitsu. It changed martial arts forever.
Do your kids do jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, my kids have done it. Yeah.
Have done it.
Yeah, they don't do it anymore. They do other stuff. I don't push them.
No.
Like whatever they're in. If they wanted to do it tomorrow, they said, "I'm thinking about doing
be
some
like,
kickboxing."
"Great,
I'm like,
let's
let's
do
go.
it."
Where you want to go?
Right.
But I don't believe in. Everybody's different. I don't want them to follow my footsteps or anything stupid like that. I want you to be your own human being. What are you interested in? They're both interested in different things. My youngest is an artist. My other one is a phenomenal athlete. It's like, I think that you should do what you want to do.
Yep.
And if you want to do that, I'll bring you. I'll show you. I'll teach you. I'll help you. But if you don't want to do that, I don't want to push you.
Let me
you
be
know?
a good parent and celebrate what my kid is, not what I
There's
want.
so many different
Yeah,
kinds of
yeah.
things you could be interested in life, and everyone has a different psychology, so everyone has different things they gravitate towards. It's just like, what is the thing? Is it music? Is it art? Is it your writing? What do you like to do? Find that thing, chase it down.
How many kids do you have?
I have three. I have a grown, she's 28, and I have a 16 and a 14.
Yeah.
I feel like you've got to do what compels you,
Yeah.
what drives you. And part of it as a parent is like, there's so many stories of parents, particularly with like talented athletes, that were too hard on the kid and put too much discipline on the kid, and the kid's burned out.
Yeah.
I've seen so many cases of that.
Yeah.
You know, with these
That Russian
sideline
mentality or
parents.
that Asian mentality.
You just fucking,
Not here, but
you
there,
kill
the
the
thing.
joy.
You kill
There's
the joy.
You know what Horace Gracie's dad used to do? If he lost a competition, he would buy him a present. If he
Because
lost.
what was the psychology?
Because they're always going to want to win. But
Meaning
if-
the effort, he bought the present for the effort?
No,
or
it's like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like, here, you have a toy. Here's a gift. Here's a thing. Like, it's like, this is just growth. It's just development. Hoyce's dad, Elio, felt like you live the same life over and over and over again until you get it right. He subscribed to that, like, ancient Eastern philosophy of reincarnation.
Yeah.
Like, he really believed you will
kind
live
of
the same
Hindu
life
belief.
over and over and until you get it right. And so his philosophy on
is do
the way he's
1%
kids-
better a day. Just do
Yeah.
1%. Just give you. It's not about going from here to here. It's not living at 100% all the time.
It's the process.
It's the process.
It's the process, the constant process of growth.
Yeah.
And through that constant process, I mean, what they did was even more crazy because Elio, along with Carlos Gracie, they revolutionized a martial art. Like jiu-jitsu is brought over by these judokas from Japan, Maeda and Kimura, who came over to America, or came over to Brazil rather, and trained with the Gracies. And then they took those techniques and made them applicable to smaller people.
Yeah.
Made them applicable to, like, because Elio was only 145 pounds.
Yeah.
But he would have these no rules fights in Brazil. These fucking huge fights that would go for like an hour and a half.
Wow.
Yeah, and he would just beat these guys with technique. So they developed leverage, and they figured out a way to highlight the submissions and make things super technical, and they would analyze moves and break them down, and it became the philosophy of the entire family. That one family created more fucking assassins than any other family in the history of martial
And yet
arts.
they're the nicest people.
The
'cause
nicest
I've met
people.
those. Yeah.
Yeah, I had Hoyce in here like a couple months ago.
Did
He
you
was
really?
awesome. He's so
Ceci,
fun.
do you know Ceci?
No.
She's girl. She's with Laird a lot. She's
Okay.
at Laird's place a lot.
I mean,
But,
they have a clan, bro.
It's a clan, but it's
Yeah.
a close clan.
Yes.
And it's a friendly, familial clan.
Yep. Yeah, they're very nice people. But that's the thing about jiu-jitsu. It's like you get out all your aggression in the gym, and
then
it
you
kills
can-
your ego.
And you can go be kind.
You can just be a nice person.
Be a nice
like,
person after
Jiu-jitsu
that.
people are some of the nicest people I've ever met.
Me too.
They're super friendly and warm, and it's like normal people.
Yeah.
They just are obsessed with this one thing.
Yeah.
You know, and through that thing, it's like a vehicle for developing your human potential.
Yeah.
Because it's so difficult. And when you do a difficult thing, it makes the rest of life a lot easier. Because there's no way whatever you're experiencing during the day is going to be as difficult as someone on your back trying to strangle the blood out of your brain. Like literally trying to fucking choke the blood out of your head. Like there's no way. There's no way life could be harder
But
than
that's
that.
the thing is the wildness. You have to have something.
To be a champion. Yeah,
To be a
fighter.
champion or to be a good person, I
Yeah.
think. You have wildness, which we've talked about throughout this
Yes.
whole thing.
If you don't have wildness,
Which,
you're going
if
to be
you bring
boring.
it back, honestly, because I have to bring it back to the book, that's what the book is about.
Yeah.
Wildness, unmitigated.
Right, but you
You know,
eventually
you have-
figured out a way to get a
eventually turns
grip
that
on it.
on you.
Yeah.
No, but most people, it turns around and it bites you in the ass.
Most
and it's a
people.
sad ending.
But I think those sad endings are a valuable lesson for the other people.
Power of example.
Yeah, you learn from a lot of. One of the reasons why I never did coke is when I was in high school, my friend's cousin became a cokehead. He was a coke dealer and became a cokehead, and him and his girlfriend would just do coke and hide.
Right.
They were just like they had an attic apartment. They were in this fucking apartment, and just like doing coke and
like
selling
abject
coke and
paranoia.
watching TV, and
Yeah.
and he like withered away. He lost all this weight. It looked like he got bit by a vampire.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, Jesus Christ, stay the fuck away from coke. It was
Like, why
terrifying.
would you want to do that? What would be attractive about that? nothing.
I guess it's I mean, you've done it. I haven't done it. I guess it's the euphoria when you get that hit, that feeling, that feeling of elevation, that feeling of like, you just no fear and you feel excited. You want to start a business with people and you got plans. We're going to fucking take over.
I just love in the description of it, the eyes kind of get like this and the craziness. And you go, yeah, it's bad for everybody else. It may be good for you for like 15 minutes, but everybody else is fucking miserable around you.
The worst thing to me was when I would be high, like smoking weed, and I'd be like just chilled and silly, and I'd run into a cokehead. And you're like, oh no.
Who's trying to talk to you like this?
And you just get battered with like talk. You're like, I gotta get out of here.
It's disgusting to me now.
It's a weird drug. It's a weird drug, but it's obviously very popular.
Yeah.
And it causes a lot of problems.
Yeah, no thanks anymore.
Yeah.
No thanks. I'm
not
good.
interested in that one.
You smoke your bud, I'll smoke my cigar.
Yeah, I like cigars too.
Yeah.
Cigars are conversational. They're tools
are.
for conversation.
Yeah.
They relax you, light your brain up a little bit, get you a little fired up.
Read this book when you can.
I will.
Seriously, I think you'll like it.
I know I'll like it. I like talking to you.
Yeah. It's you'll laugh. You'll laugh. Not everybody will laugh when they read the book. You will laugh. Because I think you understand absurdity.
How long did it take you to put it together?
2 years. It's nonlinear. It goes all over the place in all these years.
Did you have, when you sat down, did you have like a framework in mind of how you wanted to pursue it?
No.
No?
No, because I've written probably 90 journals in my life, 90 full journals, and I would go back and I kind of started to put some of those together, and I'd go, oh, that happened in '88, or that happened in '76, and that that kind of stands out as being a milestone moment or whatever. And I'd start to write those down. They were really poorly written, and then that started to instigate one thing and another thing, and it kind of wrote itself. I think it was 450 pages when I finished, and then I knocked it down to like 240.
What is that process like, the editing process?
That's a good process. That's the hardest process I've ever gone through. But you become a better writer. It's
do you do it with an editor, or do you do it by yourself?
I did it with an editor because I didn't sell the book right away. You know how memoir. First of all, most memoirs are not written by the people who they're about, which makes no sense to me.
Right.
Because you're writing about yourself, but you're hiring somebody else to do it, but you're taking the money. I don't get it. So I wrote it. I wrote the entire book. Then I sold it. So I didn't sell it based on a celebrity. I sold it based on the book because you could read the book and some people hated it. Some people read it and they go, I don't get it. It's too wild. It's too whatever. And
everything is not for everybody.
Exactly, and that's okay.
Yeah,
that's
it's more than okay. It's
What's
important.
wild is when I was in the middle, which I think you would like, when I was in the middle of doing the Audible for the book, about halfway through, stumbling through the Audible, I go, what the fuck did I do? I should burn any evidence that this fucking was ever even thought about. And then I spiraled for about a month, and I don't spiral. I just don't spiral about anything. I'm pretty cool with anything that, comes along. And then people started reading the book. And then I got this varied response that was always visceral. It was never like, I really liked your book a lot. I thought it was well written and all that. Somebody would go, fuck.
Yeah.
And that's nice.
That means you nailed it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I do know that the responses are good.
Well, that's what's important.
Yeah.
It's working. It had a desired effect. You got out your thoughts. You got out your experiences.
But that editing process is a good process because you refine and you clarify and you simplify. And
yeah.
That's cool.
You get to look at it with fresh eyes.
With fresh eyes.
Yeah.
It's the arm bar. You could just grab an arm and then try to bend it as much as you can, or you can fucking figure out how to get in there every time. And tap the guy out.
Did you always know that you were going to do this? You're going to write this book?
No, I'd written 2 or 3 books and put them in the corner, in a dark corner, and let them accumulate dust. I never thought I would do it publicly because I was always into that thing of like, oh, you're an actor and like, get over it. You want to be a writer. You want to be a writer. You want to be a musician. Every actor wants to be a musician.
Every actor wants to be a rock star.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, nah. And then this lady read this book, this lit agent, and she said, I said it the 3rd time, and she said, you need to fucking stop saying, referencing yourself as an actor who's a writer. You're a fucking writer and a really good writer. Just write. And she was tough on me.
So you feel like you had like almost like a disclaimer, Like I'm an
Through her.
actor. Like,
Oh, yeah, I
that's what
did.
you're doing, giving yourself like an escape.
I did, because
Yeah.
there was something about that profession anyway that I always looked at and I always thought, why do I do this? This is dumb. You know what I mean? And where's the self-importance come from? Like, what happened to the wagon that just went down and like people tried to shoot you?
Doesn't the self-importance just come from attention? You get
Period.
extraordinary amounts of attention, then people develop self-importance
Yes.
because of that, because they think they deserve that attention.
Because it's a false thing.
Yeah.
And then you start seeing people manifest it like, excuse me, I said hot coffee. I didn't say warm coffee. I said, and you go, I don't understand the mentality.
That's the
So
grossest.
for me, it's
Yeah.
probably another attempt, which I think I've manifested in a bunch of different ways, of right sizing. And there's nothing like that will right size you like a fucking book. Put you right back into why are you doing what you were doing? Where do you come from? How do you feel about your kids? Where's your sensitivity? Where are things that have become concrete that you need to break in order to feel again? Where are you limiting yourself? And I don't like the idea of limiting myself. Like, did I love drinking? Fuck yeah. I had so much fun, dude. And so did a lot of other people. But I go, this is now limiting. Well, don't you want to go out and take a drink? I go, fuck no. When you're out with a bunch of people having fun? No, because I'm having fun.
Right. You don't need to drink to have fun, but there's a thing when you're drinking a lot and having fun, you think this is the reason why I'm having fun.
This is the reason why I'm having fun.
Yeah, it's a trap.
That's the trap.
Yeah.
That's the trap.
Well, you can have a drink or two and really enjoy yourself, or you could think that the only reason why you're enjoying yourself is because you're having a drink or two.
And that's usually why you have more drinks, because you think,
Yes.
this is the reason people are liking me right now. This is the reason people think I'm funny.
And you keep chasing that dragon.
Imagine if you went on stage and every time you went on stage, you had to have at least 6 drinks. Because you go, this is what they want. And then you'd
Yeah.
wake up in the morning and your kid goes and wakes you up and you're like, fuck.
Yeah.
And you go, wow, that's not worth it.
What's the fucking dude's name from Knight Rider? You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, David
Baywatch.
Hasselhoff?
Yeah. You ever see that video?
Of course I did.
The kids.
The burger video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the saddest fucking thing ever.
Yeah, it didn't look like a good burger.
Well, he's just hammered and his kid filmed it.
It's awful.
Oh,
man.
it's so awful.
It's so cringy.
Yeah.
It's
That's
the-
what everybody's afraid of.
Yeah.
Becoming that pathetic example to
And
children.
you wonder how much that exists and the video's not going. That daughter videoed that.
Right.
Like, I want you to see what this looks like.
Right.
And
right.
supposedly that kind of threw him into sobriety or whatever. I don't know if he's sober or not. Did he?
If
Did he
I don't
get
know,
sober?
I will
don't
hope
either.
he is.
Me too.
If anything would throw you into sobriety, your children filming you at
That's it.
the lowest moment possible would do it for you.
Yeah. I didn't want to be filmed, so I stopped early.
You got off. You
I
got
did
off
get
at the
filmed.
right time.
The last time
Yeah.
I drank, yeah, it was super lame. I was at a what do you call it, a Del Taco, and I tapped the cab in front of me accidentally when I was moving forward, and he got out and like created a thing, and somebody filmed it from the back of the cab.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I looked stupid. You can't fucking drive. You know how to fucking drive. You're like, oh, dude, shh, quiet. Don't speak.
No.
Don't speak.
There's nothing worse than being sober and seeing something when
Oh,
you're
there's
drunk. You're like,
nothing.
oh no, I'm so gross.
Because your perception of it while you were you were like,
course.
no, man, this is an honorable moment.
Yeah.
You're saying I did something that I didn't do,
Right.
and we need to hash this out. When
Oof.
the reality is you're just kind of regurgitating bullshit.
Yeah.
No,
Also,
thanks.
you know how to like affect people with your words.
Yeah.
You know how to express yourself in a
Yeah.
dramatic way, and you think you're gonna fucking get
Yeah.
through this on top.
I'm an actor, motherfucker.
Yeah, motherfucker.
Watch this. I'm going Shakespeare on you.
You know what my favorite movie of yours is?
What?
No Country for Old Men.
Why?
Because it's so fucked up.
Because it's so fucked
It's such
up.
a fucked up movie. It's and even the end when it ends, you're like, what happened?
Yeah.
That's the end?
Yeah.
It's like that guy, what's his name? Javier? What's his name?
Bardem.
God damn, that guy was a good psycho.
He was so good.
God damn. That movie was so unusual and intense.
And there was no feeling, and people ask this all the time, there was no feeling that it was a special movie.
Really?
Yeah. I told you I went back to Marfa, Texas for the first time in 18 years with Stapleton. And the guy running the bank is the first guy that Javier kills in the movie. This is the guy running the bank right now, Chip.
Wow.
Right? And I talked to Chip. I have a picture of me and Chip. And I talked to Chip and I said, fuck, you were the first guy, did you think that? And he said, no, that was a friend of a friend who said that they were auditioning people. And the reason I did it is because I figured nobody would ever see it. It seemed like a small... That's the proprietor. It's the first guy that Javier killed outside. That was a good scene, though.
What is that dude like in person, Javier?
The best. The sweetest human being, one of my best friends.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That's inside of him, that he can...
Well, that's the thing.
That's
what makes him an artist.
Yes.
Because he's one of these guys that literally, he was so depressed during that thing.
Really?
Oh, my God, dude.
Because he didn't like doing it?
No, he was like, look at my hair. What the fuck? You know what I mean?
That's what depressed him.
Look at him.
Oh, my God. He played
he's
such
genius in
a
it.
good psychopath.
He wore SPF 100. He had an umbrella all the time to keep the sun off him. And to see how pale he looks.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the guy. The guy to the left, that's Chip. Can you stand there for a second, please?
So he was really depressed because of his hair?
Yeah, and me and Woody would take him out. We would take him out to the Cowgirl, what was it called? Cowgirl Cafe. And we would have drinks with him. We would make him, because he would stay in his apartment with the drapes drawn and all this kind of shit. He just didn't want to go out. He said, I don't like violence. I don't drive. I don't know why they hired me. Why the fuck did they hire me? Like, why am I here?
Well, how did he pull that out then?
And I'm from Spain.
Right.
This guy's not from Spain. I remember when we sat in a trailer, and he said, in that proprietor scene, he has this great line. He goes, call it. He takes the coin and goes like that. And he says, call it. And the guy says, I don't want to call it. And he says, you have to call it. It's destiny calling for you. And we were in his trailer, and Javier says, how do you say it? And I said, call it. And Javier kept saying, call it. And I said, no, dude, call it. Can you hear it?
Play. Put the headphones on.
What's the most you ever lost on a coin toss?
Sir?
The most you ever lost on a coin toss?
I don't know. I couldn't say.
Call it.
Call it.
Yes.
For what?
Just call it.
Well, we need to know what we're calling it for here.
You need to call it. I can't call it for you. Well, it wouldn't be fair.
I didn't put nothing up.
Yes, you did. You've been putting it up your whole life. You just didn't know it. You know what date is on this coin?
No.
1958. It's been traveling 22 years to get here. And now it's here. And it's either heads or tails. And you have to say, call it.
Well, look, I need to know what I stand to win.
Everything.
How's that?
You stand to win everything, call it.
All right. Heads, then.
Well done. Don't put it in your pocket.
Sir?
Don't put it in your pocket. It's your lucky quarter.
Where you want me to put it?
Anywhere not in your pocket. Or it'll get mixed in with the others and become just a coin. Which it is.
I mean, if you look at that from a different perspective, you say that scene could have been the worst scene ever. It's because of the simplicity of the scene. It just
the consequences.
It's the
loom
pause.
in the air.
It just
And
hangs.
it's that this guy has some sort of weird morals.
It's so good, man.
Yeah, he's got some code that he lives by, and he's about to impose this code on this guy.
But
and he
that's
has no problem putting that bolt through his brain.
no problem, and the guy knows it, and he doesn't even know
Why
what
he knows it.
It's just
Right, he just
something
knows
that's-
it. Yeah,
And you sit there and you just
great
kind of
fucking scene.
It's a great scene, man.
yeah. How did you not know that movie was great while you were doing it?
Because it was so. We were just.
The Coen brothers are fucking amazing.
They're amazing, but you were just having. They had done two movies that were sort of bigger than what they normally do. One was with Clooney and one was with Tom Hanks, and it didn't work.
Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
No, the fucking Oh Brother, Where Art Thou
love
was
that movie.
amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
What was the
Big
other one?
Lebowski. Was Lady Killers and what was the one
I
with
never heard of
Clooney? Well, there you go.
Yeah.
But so I
you
think
just had
that
this feeling
they
that-
just went back to this simple, like, Burn After Reading was after No Country, which was also really good, super good. But they just kind of went back to this very kind of feral, base place and just said, let's just tell this simple story and let's let it happen. I don't know. I don't think they're like
How
this,
did you
but
not
like
know
maybe
why you were doing it though? Like this,
it just didn't have that
amazing
vibe.
scenes.
It didn't have that vibe. It was so simple.
Wild.
It was so simple. And
But
Into
then when
the
you
Wild,
saw it though,
Into the what, dude? When I saw it with my kid, which was probably super irresponsible.
How old was your kid
He
at
was
the time?
16. He was like, that's on the the cusp. But I saw it with him in an editing room on a big screen, and we left and we got in the car and we didn't talk for 15 minutes, and that's never happened.
wow,
Like literally not one word.
wow.
And then I said, "What do you think?" And he goes, "Fuck." Which is a great response.
That's that movie.
That's that movie.
That is that movie. That movie is.
You want to tie it together too in the end, and like a typical Hollywood ending, and Javier and my character go head to head at the end, and that doesn't happen. So you do something, which is how it was written in the book, Cormac. And I got to know Cormac really well. I was with Cormac the night before he died, and
Oh no, kidding! Wow,
yeah. So, and I asked him,
that guy could fucking write.
fuck, dude, some of the greatest writing,
That guy could
American
fucking write.
writing ever
Yeah,
in the history
yeah,
of this
man.
country.
There was something about his writing. It was like Jesus Christ.
That's another one of those guys, artists, where you go. I would ask him about his writing. He didn't want to talk about it ever, and then finally got mad at me one day, and he was like, "I don't fucking know, man. I just sit down at the typewriter and it comes. Like, what do you want me to tell you?"
Wow.
I was like, "All right, man. Relax. Fucking 87 years old. Relax." But he could write. I mean, he was tapped into, and talk about a guy who just like, you were like the muse, and do you have a special place, and do you have this thing that, no.
Just sits down and writes.
The bed that he was on, it was me, his ex-wife, his son, and Cormac that last night.
Wow.
And always at the edge of his bed was that typewriter that he used for 25, 30 years to write all those novels. And then he had one before that was exactly the same. But that typewriter was on an old piece of wood at the foot of his bed.
Wow.
And even at the end, he would just grab that thing and
Wow.
get it out. It was cool.
Yeah, there's rare humans like that have that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just tap into
And they
something.
tap into it and then they just keep going. They
Yeah.
get on that path and they just keep going. It just keeps getting better. They just get better at it.
We've talked about a series of very special people. What's the difference of what makes somebody that special, that iconic? Are they crazy? Are they
They're
tapping?
definitely different.
They're different.
Yeah, I mean, it's a resistance to the norm. It's acceptance of reality. It's a poetic understanding of our place in the universe. There's so many different things that are all sort of coalescing into this.
But they see
expression.
through a different lens, though. They're
Yeah.
just they're made up of
Yeah.
a different.
Well, that's probably why he didn't want
cellular
to talk
makeup.
about it. He didn't want to fuck it up.
He didn't want to fuck it up.
Yeah,
He didn't want to mitigate it. He didn't want to. He didn't want to lessen it. He didn't want to. What's the word? Make it pedestrian.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes. He didn't want to try. Sometimes magic is just magic. You don't want to figure out how it's happening.
Yeah.
Just know that you can do it and just keep doing it.
Exactly.
Just be a craftsman. Be
Yeah.
a person who's dedicated to this thing.
Yeah. Yep.
He had to know it was really good. I mean, enough people told him it was really good.
Yeah, but if you have even a guy like that who wrote the first up until All the Pretty Horses, none of his books sold.
That's pretty crazy.
Like 1,000 people bought it, 1,500 people bought it, and then it was made into a movie. And then you go back and you're like, all these banned books that we know back in the day, 1984, George Orwell, Henry Miller, all these fucking people. People are like, ew. And then how many, Van Gogh painting a painting, and all those paintings being outside getting rained on, and now they're selling for $100 million.
Yeah, all after he's dead.
All after he's dead.
Yeah.
He never knew. He sold one painting in his lifetime, so he never got to, not even a little bit, experience what, look at what you did.
Right.
Wow, man.
Well, maybe that's why they're so good. Because
they
like
had
a
to do it
purity
anyway.
of expression. Yeah, he's
Whether
just doing
people
it.
paid attention or not,
Yeah.
it's who they were, and they
Yeah.
gave themselves to it.
Yeah,
1,000%.
He's an artist.
An artist.
A real artist. Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Thanks, dude.
Thank you. It was a
No,
lot of
thank you.
fun.
It
Really
was.
appreciate it.
I really appreciate it.
I'm going to read your book immediately.
I would like you to.
I will definitely.
You're one guy I would really like for you to read
I'll
it.
get on it.
Okay, man.
All right.
Thank you. man.
Thank you very much. Bye everybody.
Bye.